Hey, hey, let's go to Target. What up? What up, YouTube? Hold up. We got a lazy Monday planned. I don't know. Past 2 weeks, I haven't had any good ideas of what to talk about in the last hour. So this week, we're just going to talk more about what we talked about in the beginning. We're going to open up looking at Kamala, Tim Walz, RFK, bunch of political stuff as we get closer to the election. And I'd like to find somebody that wants to do a Kamala and Tim Walz versus Trump and JD debate, preferably before Kamala and Trump have their debate. So I want to kind of put it together tonight and do a bunch of just scouring the web, doing research and gathering folders. A folder for Kamala, folder for JD, folder for Waltz. And I got a lot of it put together already. So we'll start off talking about RFK. Susan Wojicki is dead. Susan Wojicki is dead. But I think we covered, not last week, but a while ago when she left YouTube and they sold it. And we looked at the guy that they sold it to. I forget his name. But so she hasn't owned YouTube for a while. So this doesn't really mean anything for the YouTube community. But she did. What else? Hurricane, not a hurricane in Brazil, a damn plane crash in Brazil. What's up, Brome? What's up, Nada? Elon is interviewing Trump right now. Well, that's going to hurt the ratings. Thanks, Nada. Hold on. On where? On what? On X, probably. Is it on YouTube? Who said that? I think Tucker Carlson said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. What is that? Where's that noise coming from?" Uh, Hold on, guys. I don't know where that music's coming from. It's got to be this website because I've never used this website before. They got some audio file playing somewhere. Damn it. Oh no. I don't know what website it's from. Nobody can get into the X space though. But I have to be in the space just to watch it. Oh my god, I can't hear you guys right. You guys can't hear the music, but the music is still going. It's from one of these websites. But I don't know what website it's coming from. I have 28 web pages open. It's got to be something I've never used before. Could be Daily Beast doing it. No, it's not YouTube. Oh my gosh, I can't do this with this in my ears this whole time. How do I stop that? Sorry, unprofessional show. Unprofessional show. We're going back to the old days. Is it in voice mod? No, nothing's planned. The heck is that from? It's got to be this Daily Beast website. Well, I have the volume down in my headphones, but the problem is if I try to play a clip or something, that music is playing, and I don't know where it's coming from. And you guys can't hear it now. I can't hear it now, but it's still playing. It wouldn't be Politico, would it? No. I'm going to close everything and I'm going to reopen it. And hopefully it doesn't start playing again. Nope, still playing. Hold on, guys. I got to fix this. Is it voice mod? I gotta go to Task Manager. It's not from OBS. It was voice mod. Huh. Anyway. Well, that was weird. Okay, Brazilian plane crash. Music's gone. I fixed it. Brazilian plane crash. JRE conundrum with Trump. Trump's calling out RFK. Apparently, X is. Nobody can get in the space. Do I have to be in the space to watch it? Can I just watch it? Are they restreaming it to YouTube or anything? Trump X interview with Elon Musk expected as Iran hack claims surface. Trump to be interviewed by Elon Musk on Monday. Live from Fox Now. Can you just listen to it without being in the space? I don't want to be in the space. I'm not expected to talk to dang Trump or Elon. Where would it be? At Trump's? We're gonna try to find that. That gives us some time filler. People, Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump, make America great again. Donate today. Donald J. Trump space. Listen live. Connecting. Start listening. I've never. Oh. It's just music. More music. What's with all the music? Now, how do I pause it? Tell me when they start talking if you're listening to it. BBL equals. BBL is greater than BPC, Brazilian plane crash. The quartering, all can't get in. Well, I was just in there listening to it. It's just music. It's elevator music playing right now. But I can't request. I could request to speak, but I don't know how it's. Oh yeah, I got in. I'm a VIP. You didn't know? But I paused it, so all right. Watch now. I'm not gonna be able to get back in. How do I mute it and just leave it playing? I don't know. I don't know when they're gonna start talking, so I don't just want to listen to elevator music. Okay, I got to reopen all these folders now. The music was coming from my soundboard. That was weird. All right. So Joe Rogan's in some hot water because he kind of dang vouched for RF gay. For real. I thought RFK was kind of cool at first, but then I found out more about him. On his Tim Pool interview, he did horrible. Dodging questions. He want to kill the baby. Voting for Kamala is like taking a massive dump in your pants, then slipping on a fresh pair of sunglasses and confidently claiming everything's under control. Facts. All right, so from Politico, RFK Jr. rakes in praise from top podcasters. They're all vouching for RFK. Joe, Russell Brand. This says Ben Shapiro praised him. I am a fan. He's the only one that makes sense to me, Rogan said on a recent episode of his podcast. He's the only one that doesn't attack people. This is a guy who does DMT for his job. And his last comedy special just dropped, and it's not garnering praise. Mr. Don't Steal Jokes was stealing jokes. Did you know that? Oh, yeah. He stole a Bill Burr joke, and he stole another joke. And he was repeating his old jokes, which he said he doesn't do that. So I don't know. I don't really think his opinion matters too much, but I guess it does because everybody in the world loves Joe Rogan. But he's the only one that doesn't attack people. He attacks actions and ideas, but he's much more reasonable and intelligent. He later apologized. He said, that's not an endorsement. I'm just saying he's a cool guy and Trump is awesome, basically, is what he said. Because Trump came out and responded. Responded. So from Daily Beast, Joe Rogan quickly reverses course on supporting RFK Jr. after MAGA freaks out. Trump said, the UFC fans are going to boo you like you've never heard before at the next show. Ooh. Hold on, I wasn't ready for the Trump voice. A music version of a girl from Apadama. I don't know what that means. So yeah, everybody find some dang liberals. If anybody knows any liberals in their social media, tell them I want to debate in like a month. Give me like a month. I really don't think I need a whole month, but let's do it. Let's do it. We'll find a place to host it. Have a formal Trump and JD versus Kamala and Tim Walz. They're trying to run ads every like 5 seconds on my video. But yet, I'm not safe for advertisers. Whatever, YouTube. Podcast host Joe Rogan made a quick about face on Friday after supporters of Donald Trump accused him of abandoning the former president by expressing support for long shot presidential candidate RFK Jr. Yeah, he's just a fence sitter. He's just playing the guy that, oh, it'll make everybody happy. I just vote for the third party candidate. I just like to throw my vote away. Rogan said politicians on the right and the left gaslight and manipulate voters, but independents like RFK Jr. are more honest. Wow. What are you guys talking about? Is it going yet? Whenever this let's check in on the see now it's oh yeah. It connects. It just takes a oh wait. Am I the only one in the space now? I'm the listener. I'm the only one listening in the space right now. At least that's what it says. What up, Trump? Request to speak. Okay, now maybe I'm not in because I don't hear the music. It says I am, but it says I'm the only one there. Let's go. We're going to have a one-on-one with Trump and Elon tonight. Oh, wait, there's everybody else. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Joe Exotic. So yeah, you'd think they would put well, I guess they do put the check marks up at the top. I don't know who a lot of these people are. There's probably millions of people listening. Maybe not. It only says 11,000 right now. Yeah, I don't know any of these people. I'm not in the Twitter world. So, anyway, Trump said, you're going to get the biggest boos. The biggest boos when you walk into. Here, let's play a clip from his show, even though Joe is stingy. Hold on. We have to pause Joe a lot. That's an endorsement, Joe. That is an endorsement. He's the only one that makes sense to you. You're a fan. Trump doesn't make sense as a president. You're crazy. But Joe's always quick to apologize. You don't know how to read, Joe. You say all the time you don't like to read. Oh, no, duh. All right, enough of that. Enough of that. We can't be playing all Joe Rogan show. But where's Trump responding? It will be interesting to see how loudly Joe Rogan gets booed the next time he enters the UFC ring. Trump wrote, MAGA 2024. Rogan isn't the only mega influencer MAGA has shamed into expressing support for Trump recently. Kyle Rittenhouse, so I was going to talk about this too. I'm glad it's in this article. Kyle Rittenhouse, a conservative, he went against the NRA. I told y'all, Kyle ain't as based as, he's pretty based the way he handled that situation out there in Kenosha. But then he got with that TikTok girl. Now he's bashing Trump and the NRA and turning around and apologizing real quick, too. Conservative gun rights activist, most famous for killing 2 people at a protest against police brutality, originally said he would be supporting Representative Ron Paul in this year's election. Ron Paulers. After 12 hours of conservative backlash, Rittenhouse denounced his previous opinion, calling it ill-informed, and said that he'd be voting for the former president after all. So we bullied Mr. Gun Toter himself, who also bashed the NRA a little over a week ago. And everybody's talking about this Joe Rogan thing, and conservatives are freaking out. This is Sam Cedar, Super Left Majority Report. What are they talking about? Let's turn my little window on.
Maybe support RFK in races like.
Oh, I had no audio on the Rogan clip, huh? My bad. Because I had it turned down because of the music. My bad. Can't listen to this Trump Elon combo. Shoot, I'm in it. There's nothing playing yet. You can join this space while you're already in the space. Oh, I'm already in the space. How do I play? How do I hit play? Why can't I hear it now? We got it playing music earlier. But now there's no audio. I'm in it. I'm in the thing right now. But I don't hear anything. What if I leave and come back? There was music playing, and now there's nothing. They're going to scare me when they just randomly start talking. What do you mean you can't listen to it? Not a big fan of Joe Rogan, but I always liked that he called out Carlos Mencia. Right, and now he's stealing jokes in his new special. I really don't want to watch this Majority Report thing, but since the audio was muted on the clip, I'll just skip.
That may have something to do with why it only makes sense to Joe Rogan.
Oh, I can't stand this guy.
But
Right.
Go with God. Here we go.
And ideas, but he's
In the beginning, God created.
No, Jordan. Listen, Jordan. We understand Genesis, okay? You just don't understand. You have to fight your dragon.
cleaned up the East River. He's much and ideas, but he's much more reasonable and intelligent. I mean, the guy was an environmental attorney and cleaned up the East River. I mean, he's a legitimate guy. You know, before anybody started calling him an anti.
I just want to say Hudson River, not the East River. He did a lot more work on the Hudson River, but that's okay. Go ahead.
And that
really
work was admirable, right? I mean, this is part
100%.
of why
Shut up.
you guys were friendly, right, back in the day, and also why, he was somewhat clear. That story. Oh, no.
The idea came up
Whatever.
at
Freaking RFK. Shocker. Who's surprised by that? You shouldn't be. He's not going to interview. How are you not going to interview Trump when you're the guy that could get it? Who turns that down? It's career suicide. The only thing worse is your recent special. I'm just kidding. I haven't watched the special yet, but I watched a YouTube video about it, and they said the death of Joe Rogan, and they played a lot of clips, and apparently he's stealing jokes, and they got the side by side where they play it, and then they play the other person doing it. But yeah, so Rittenhouse, Joe Rogan coming out against Trump for RF gay. Former President Trump expressed dismay at Joe Rogan on Friday after he expressed favor for independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr., which the podcaster later said is not an endorsement. We already read what Trump says, so that's from Axios. Same story. Not much more. But in other Trump campaign updates, before we'll look at the Brazilian fight during rapid fire, I guess. Brazilian flight. Brazilian lack of flight, I should say. But first, Trump's campaign says it has been hacked. They hacked Trump's campaign. From CNN, former President Donald Trump's campaign said Saturday in a statement that it has been hacked. Dun, dun, dun. Always hacking somebody. Tell me if... Let me see if I can get this playing. Let's leave and then come back. Biggest history, blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. Where'd it go? It's not here anymore. Let's go back. Listen live. Details not available. Let's refresh. Let's refresh this mug. I'm trying to get this. Working, but it hasn't started yet. Not working. Details not available. Yeah. Even in Elon owns X. They ain't gonna let this man speak to Elon. Now it's not letting me back in. Let's just keep refreshing. I got the purple box. Details not available. Huh. Yeah, I shouldn't have left. I was in it twice. Now I can't get back in it. What the? Lin Yan Chin. Lin Yan Chin. Oh. Ah. Politico reported earlier Saturday that it had received emails from an anonymous account with documents from inside Trump's campaign operation. These documents were obtained illegally. Is this Trump talking? No, that's a spokesperson, so I don't get to do Trump voice. These documents were obtained illegally from foreign sources hostile to the United States, intended to interfere with the 2024 election and sow chaos throughout our democratic process. Trump's campaign spokesperson Stephen Chang, oh, so I should have read it right this, said in a statement to CNN. Chang pointed out to a recent report published by Microsoft that said Iranian operatives had ramped up their attempts to influence and monitor the U.S. presidential election by creating fake news outlets targeting liberal and conservative voters and by trying to hack an unnamed presidential campaign. Oh boy. The meddling has begun. On Friday, a new report from Microsoft found that Iranian hackers broke into the account of a high-ranking official on the U.S. presidential campaign in June 2024, which coincides with the close timing of President Trump's selection of vice presidential nominee. This comes after recent reports of an Iranian plot to assassinate President Trump around the same... Are we going to blame Iran for the assassination attempt now? The same time as Butler, PA tragedy. Chang said, referring to the attempted assassination of Trump at a rally last month. Chang said the Iranians... Butler, PA tragedy? Referring to the... So, yeah, they're trying to blame Iran for that now? Chang said the Iranians know that President Trump will stop their reign of terror just like he did in his first 4 years in the White House. Any media or news outlet reprinting documents or internal communications are doing the bidding of America's enemies and doing exactly what they want. So there's either some dark secret that the left is about to drop, maybe their little October surprise coming up here soon, or the Iranians really are trying to hack us. And Trump's team is just letting us know. It's not clear whether Iran was responsible for the hack. The Iranian mission to the UN said it does not accord any credence to such reports. So I don't know if this has to do with him playing Celine Dion at his thing, but this was kind of the response to it. 91K. Are you talking about how many people are in that thing? It says 122K for me, but it's not letting me in now. It's not letting me in. So they're hacking Trump's campaign. Either Iran or somebody. Dang it, I was in it earlier. I should have just stayed in. The FBI said in a statement that the agency is aware of the media reporting and we have no further comment or information at this time. CNN has reached out to the Justice Department and the Secret Service for comment. The White House said Saturday that it condemned any attempt of foreign interference in the American elections. Well, I would hope so. As we have said many times, the Biden-Harris administration strongly condemns any foreign government or entity who attempts to interfere in our electoral process or seeks to undermine confidence in our democratic institutions, as U.S. National Security Council spokesperson said. They're trying to hack our boy. They're trying to hack me up into pieces. NPR, the Trump campaign, says its emails were hacked and suggests Iran may be to blame. More of the same. Yeah, so that's that. I have a lot of articles on this. Let's see what the Guardian's saying. It's going to be a lot of similar stuff. Donald Trump presidential campaign said on Saturday it had been hacked. Campaign spokesperson Stephen Chang released a statement. We already read this. Chang said on Friday a new report from Microsoft found that Iranian hackers broke into the account of a high... We already read all this. Okay, not much new here. These are all pretty short articles. Microsoft did not close details on the official or senior advisors' identities or the hack's origin. Trump campaign has not provided direct evidence of the alleged hack. The Guardian has contacted Trump's campaign and Microsoft for comment. Following the assassination attempt, reports emerged of a threat from Iran. Earlier this week, the U.S. Justice Department announced that a Pakistan man with alleged ties to Iran had been charged over a foiled conspiracy to carry out political assassinations on America's soil. Another shocker. According to criminal complaint, 46-year-old Asif Merchant tried to recruit people in the U.S. to carry out a plot in retaliation for the U.S.'s 2020 killing of Qasem Soleimani, Iran's Revolutionary Guard's top commander. FBI investigators believe that Trump, who approved the drone strike on Soleimani, was one of the intended targets, according to the U.S. official CNN reported at the time. So we can stop Iranian terrorist cells from hitting up Trump, but we can't stop some dude with a freaking gun from climbing up a ladder and shimmying across the roof for 20 minutes. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to keep trying to get this this X thing to play. If I refresh. Let's just keep refreshing. Listen live. We got the listen live button back. Start listening. We are in. And it's music again. Yeah, I wish I could mute it. How do I mute it? Because I want to stay in, but I want to mute this music. Because if I leave, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back in. Whatever, I got to leave. We'll just have to keep going back in and out. The music! Okay, so we read the Guardian article, skimmed through the NPR article. Let's move on. Susan Wojizki, former CEO and Silicon Valley visionary, dies at 56. 56. That's kind of young for a rich, powerful woman. Huh. Who helped shape Google and YouTube, died Friday after a 2-year battle with non-small cell lung cancer. Okay, she was not just my friend. She was blah, 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 blah. She had a tight grip on YouTube. We used to complain about old Susan quite a bit. But she hasn't been the owner of YouTube for like a year now. So, and it's gotten better. So, this isn't super relevant. It would be more relevant if she still owned YouTube because it would mean that a change was incoming. But I don't know, unless she still had a large share of the stocks. But she did. Lung cancer. Got her. I don't really care too much about this story. I don't really care. There's not a lot of news this week, guys. Except for Tim Walz being chosen. So we're going to do a deep dive into him. Yeah, I don't really... She dies at 56. Here's Susan. Sober is a great song from Tool. USA doesn't own Panama anymore, and it's outdated. Serves as a military path for our Navy also. Huh. As I go around YouTube live streams, everyone got that whole music playing. Yeah, it hasn't started yet. Use the power of the watermelon shirt. We got in. We got into the thing. So old Susan did. She did. I don't need to read 4 articles on that. That's fine. I'm going to have to make a note page. We're going to take a bunch of notes on Tim Walz and Kamala. We'll just be gathering articles all night on Walz and Kamala. Walz. Tim Walz. All right, let's find out about this guy. What do we got? Waltzing on Sunshine from USA Today. They're not going to let me read this? Yeah, they are. Let's go. There's a lot of stuff in this one. Oh, God. She did one of her phone calls. We did it. We did it, Barack. We did it. Waltzing on Sunshine. How Tim Walz's unbeat demeanor got him on the Kamala Harris ticket. His unbeat demeanor. Upbeat demeanor? His upbeat demeanor? What the heck?
Hi, this is Tim.
It's Kamala Harris. Good morning, Governor.
It's Kamala Harris. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Madam Vice President.
Listen, I want you to do this with me. Let's do this together. Would you be my running mate and let's get this thing on the road?
I would be honored, Madam Vice President. The joy that you're bringing back to the country, the enthusiasm that's...
Oh, my God. You're not allowed to wear a camo hat, Tim.
It'll be a privilege to take this with you across the country.
Well, let me tell you, I have just
this is so fake.
Respect for you. I have really enjoyed our work together. You understand our country. You have
no, you don't. You understand Somalia.
In so many different, in beautiful ways. And we're going to do this. We're going to win. And we're going to unify our country and remind everyone that we are fighting for the future for everyone. So let's get out there and get this done, okay?
Let's do it. Do the work in front of us. Let's win this thing.
That's right. All right, bud.
Do the work in front of us. Let's win this thing. When Vice President Kamala Harris took the Democratic baton, she didn't run in the race though. she wasn't in the marathon. You know, they just like kind of threw the baton at her. She's like, ah, 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 ah. She caught it with her mouth. That's fucked up. Okay. Just 2 weeks to pick her running mate. There was no shortage of qualified contenders. Lining up for consideration were an astronaut senator, what? From Arizona, a dynamic swing state governor from Pennsylvania, and an election-winning red state national newcomer from Kentucky. Instead, Harris chose a smiling political pugilist from the upper Midwest. Pugilist, doesn't that mean like they don't fight? I think he fights for... you gotta fight for your right to have condoms and tampons in the little girls' bathrooms. We gotta fight for your right to let boys use those same bathrooms. We gotta fight for your right to have women in the locker room with strange men who are pretending to be women. You gotta fight. That's a banger right there. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's grounded character and amiability won over the newly minted Democratic nominee, and he made a triumphant debut as Harris's vice presidential pick in Philadelphia on Tuesday. Beyond his record of progressive policy wins and leadership experience, Walz's enthusiastic nature and rapport with Harris set him apart from the crowd of VP contenders. A person familiar with his selection told USA Today. He's the kind of person who makes people feel like they belong. Yeah, he does do that. Makes all the Somalians feel like they belong in Minnesota. Yeah. That is the name of the martial artists in various RPGs, usually a subset of the monk class. Where's the super chat function? I don't know, man. YouTube likes screwing me. There's a Cashapp function. At a joint campaign rally in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Harris touted the new pair as Joyful Warriors. Joyful Warriors? The Joyful Warriors. That's what I'm naming this piece. The Joyful Warriors. Okay, we've got the flag change. Let's see. Tim Walz will help you move. Tim Walz grills a mean bratwurst. Tim Walz knows which hot water heater is the most reliable and energy efficient. Tim Walz found your lost cat. Oh my god, this is so gay. It's weird. Guys, this is kind of weird. In 2004, Walz took 2 children of other teachers to see a rally by President George W. Bush in Mankato, Minnesota. Mankato! That's where I found that, that's where I hired that handicapped kid, and then the cops showed up at our hotel in another state, across state line, or at least cities away. We're in Minneapolis, not Minnesota, wherever we were. I don't remember, but the cops came and showed up to get this kid because he was like 22, but he wasn't considered legally an adult because he wasn't mentally healthy. But he could sell some magazines. I was training him. I hired him. I didn't know he wasn't allowed to leave the city. That was in Mankato. Huh. Okay. Walz said in 2020 the students were denied entry because they had volunteered for the Democratic Party. Though it's unclear how that was discovered, local reporting from local Minnesota news station Fox 9 claims that one of the children was identified as a Democrat because they were wearing a sticker for Bush's opponent, John Kerry. When was this? This is in 2020? Oh, and this is what made him decide to get politically active. Walz said he pushed back on their dismissal, but was ultimately rejected. 2 years later, he ran on bipartisan cooperation for Congress in a district that hadn't voted Democratic since the 19th century. Adgie Brunner, 40, remembers her junior year geography teacher, Mr. Walz, as a passionate and kind, but also blissfully stubborn. He was a geography teacher. He was a PE coach. Those are some great prerequisites to vice president, and 2 years as a congressman in Minnesota, and a PE teacher and a geography teacher, and you too can be vice president. Just let a bunch of Somalians take over your state. Gravity chamber training. Is this playing yet? Let's take a listen.
Distributed.
Oh, it's going
against our servers.
Pause.
And saturated all of our data lines. Like basically hundreds of gigabits of data were saturated. We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say. And but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize it's a conversation. And it's really intended to just get a feel for what Donald Trump is just like in a conversation. It's hard to catch a vibe about someone if you just don't hear them talk in a normal way. And when there's an adversarial interview, like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview. So and this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just trying to make up their mind. And so you can understand like what is what is it just like to have a conversation. So um honored to Donald, great to speak. We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book
Is this the first
with
time that they're
so
talking
many millions
together,
of
like
people, and it's an honor.
publicly
We
like
view
this?
that
I
as
think
an
it
honor.
is.
And then you do want silencing of certain voices. Usually those are voices that have something to say that are constructive, oftentimes constructive. And
Yeah.
so we have to consider it an honor. But congratulations on breaking every record in the book tonight. That's great.
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, maybe we could start off with
Are they breaking
I
every
mean, the
record in the
assassination
book? It only
attempt,
says
which was an
fact
incredible
check.
thing, and I have to
It
say
didn't break
that
every record in the book.
your actions after that assassination attempt were inspiring. You instead of shying away from things, instead of ducking down, you were pumping your fist in the air and saying fight, fight, fight. And I think that's, I mean, the president of the United States represents America, and I
How
think
long do you think this is going to be?
that is America. That is strength under fire, and so that's a big a part of the reason why I was excited to endorse you as the president of the United States for having another term here. Is that was just incredibly inspiring. But I mean, what was it like for you?
Not pleasant, I have to
Not
be honest.
pleasant.
I said there was
I
blood. I
mean,
had
being
more
shot is
blood.
not
I didn't
much
know I had.
fun.
I
I don't
didn't
know
know
how
I
to do
had
all
that
that,
much blood.
Lynn.
The doctors later told me that the ear is a place
You can
that
get a
is
membership. That
a very
works.
bloody
I don't know why the
place
super chats
if you're
don't
going to
work.
get hit. But in this case, it was probably the best alternative you could even think about, because it went at the
YouTube
right
hates
angle,
me.
and it was a
26 minutes
hard hit.
long?
It was very. I guess you would say
Yeah, I was
surreal,
thinking
but it
30
wasn't
minutes, but
surreal.
it might be
I
an
was
hour.
telling somebody you have instances like this, or like a lot less than this, where you feel it's a surreal situation. And I never
You look
felt
like
that
my
way. I
son.
knew immediately
You have a
that it
son?
was a bullet. I knew
Robots have
immediately that
children?
it was at the ear,
Yeah.
and because it hit very hard, but hit the ear. And I also heard people
Oh, no, it says
shout
there's a
bullets,
million people
bullets,
in this space right now.
get down, because I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly, and we had bullets flying right over my head after I went down. So I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact
You
direction
look
of the
like my
shooter, and so
son.
it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive than any other angle. So that was the miracle. That was
Yeah.
for those
Split
people that
second.
don't believe in God. I think we got to all start thinking about that. You have to. I'm a believer now. I'm more of a believer, I think, and a lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually. But it was amazing that I happened to be turned just at that perfect
Yeah.
angle, and all because I put down a chart on immigration that showed that the numbers were so great. I love that chart
I
even
mean,
more
maybe it's
now
a
that I.
sign. Maybe
Yeah,
that's a sign.
it's an immigration sign.
You
But
highlighted
The
a serious
chart.
issue,
The
and
chart.
yeah,
at
We
that
love that
moment,
chart.
that's right.
the bullet missed your, hit your ear, but
Very nice chart.
missed your head. I mean,
Well, the
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 yeah.
amazing thing is that the sign. I said, bring down that sign on immigration, and it was literally about an eighth of a second where it would be good, and after that, it was going to be a disaster, no matter which way you were facing. But it just had that perfect angle, which was
Yeah.
exactly at this
Renyan.
shooter. Very sad situation. Such a
Aren't you
sad
somewhat
situation. As
Japanese
you
or
know, we
something?
lost somebody
Chinese?
that
I
was
don't know.
great, Corey,
Yeah.
who, a firefighter, a great gentleman, a great trumper. He was a just a fantastic family and a fantastic
I
man.
can't
And
like
a
mute
friend of
this
mine came up,
or pause it.
Elon, and said, "I'd like to give the family some kind of help." And I said, "All right, that's great." He said, "Do you mind?" I said, "I don't mind at all." And he wrote out a check for $1 million, gave it to the wife. And, you know, she said, "This is really nice, but I'd rather have my husband back," which is a nice thing for
Sure.
somebody to say, to be honest. She's great. The family is great. And we raised a lot of
Yeah.
money for them and for two other gentlemen are
Tomo
unbelievable
arigato,
people also. They were hit
Mr.
really badly. They
Roboto
thought they were
Tomo.
not going to make it, and they did. The doctors in the Butler area, I tell you, they were incredible. They saved the two, and they were really hit tough, both of them
Yeah.
equally. And we thought
Yeah.
my first question was because I heard bullets flying over me, and I said, "How many people were killed?" Because we had a massive crowd there, a tremendous
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of people, and there was no land. I mean, it was all people. So I said, "How many people have been killed?" Because I knew there were other shots being fired,
Sure.
and they said, "We don't know yet, but some people have been badly hurt." And I have to give the Secret Service sniper, they call him, or sharpshooter, but sniper,
Yeah.
because he didn't know there was a problem. He's an extraordinary shot, obviously, and he didn't know there was a problem. And he was
Yeah.
able to pick it all out within 5 seconds. And he used one bullet from very far away, I guess probably about 400 yards. The shooter was 130, but he was on
Yeah.
the opposite side of the field and the podium, and he saw the smoke and the flame from the gun, immediately recognized it, and immediately took a shot. And it was one perfect shot from very far away. And if he didn't do
Yeah.
that, Elon, he would have. I mean, if he would have, a lot more people could have been
Sure.
badly hurt and killed. So
Yeah.
I have to
Absolutely.
take my hat off to him because
Go
that's
go
also a
Rob fighter.
surreal. You know, he's been with them for 23 years, and
Yeah.
he's never had anything like this. And all of a sudden, he has to
Wind
act,
deflected
and
the
it's a very
bullet
tough
because of
thing
the
to act and to
auras.
be
He
shooting
was in Super
somebody.
Saiyan.
But he saw the gun, saw the smoke, saw the flame from the gun, very far away. I obviously has very good eyes. He's got very good vision, which I assume you have
Yeah.
to have in that particular work. But he took
Absolutely.
aim very quickly, and they say it was approximately 5 seconds from long range,
Yeah.
one bullet. If that
Before the
didn't
interview
happen,
is over,
because
they're
Yeah.
the
calling on
shooter had a lot
10
of bullets, he had a
guests.
lot of a lot of
We should
cartridges up
Sure.
there with
hit
him.
request to
So
speak.
could have
Well,
been very.
I mean,
Maybe we can be one of the guests.
that's clearly, he was very competent in taking that shot to stop the attempted assassination. But I mean, there does seem to be, I mean, some pretty significant failings elsewhere in the system. Like, there's just no way that, like, how on earth does a shooter get on a roof 130 yards away? That seems crazy. I think most people people are wondering how on earth could such a thing happen?
Well, you know, I view it as two ways. There should have been nobody on the roof. There were people,
Yeah.
because there were so many tens of thousands of people there. There were people that were seeing him, and there was one woman with a red shirt and
Well,
Right.
that
Trump all
doesn't
over it,
really
So
narrow it
and
down
she's
at a Trump
screaming,
rally.
and that guy's got a gun. You know, you saw it probably. There's
yeah.
a
No, I
guy
saw
up
the
there with
videos.
a
I
gun.
mean, it's like I guess.
What was that,
I mean,
Elon?
for my part, and I think probably many members of the public are wondering how the heck are,
Elon
you
had a
know,
spurred moment.
basically people wondering by it, pointing out there's a guy on the roof with a gun.
Yeah.
And they're seeing it, but somehow it's not being addressed.
Assassination.
That does seem
Yeah,
crazy.
well, they're going to learn from this. The communication between the local police, who sort of had an idea, and then ultimately a man lifted himself up to the roof, could barely do it because he was pulling himself up,
I don't have a blue
and
check
Yeah.
mark. They're
he
not going to
saw
pick
the
me.
man with the gun. The man with the gun pointed the gun at him. He thought he was
And there's no
probably going to get
video, so they
shot,
don't get to see my
but
flag.
he was like pulling himself up, and because of that, he couldn't get to his gun, and he fell down. Actually, very badly hurt his leg, his ankle. I hear very badly,
Okay.
but he fell down, and he did. From what I understand, he did say there's a guy up there with a gun, and the shooting started very quickly after that. I think it forced the shooter to go maybe quicker. You know, he was supposed to be a very good shot.
Yeah.
My sons, Don and Eric, they can't believe what happened, but they said from 130 yards, a bad shot would hit that target almost every time. They said it's like in golf,
Yeah.
sinking a 2-foot putt.
Yeah. It's not a hard. It's not a tough
No,
shot.
it's not a long shot. The Secret Service person had the long shot. He had triple the
Yeah.
distance actually. So it was a terrible thing. Look, it's hard. I have to say this about the Secret Service. When I went down, and
Oh,
I
if
went
I
down
be a
based on I
African
think they're
American,
screaming, but
this is
other
my
people also
African
think people saw
American.
this happen. You know, you had so many people. One of the miracles was that nobody
They're
ran. I mean,
not
if
gonna
a
see my
gun goes
shirt.
off, the crowd
Yeah.
control people showed us this. When guns go off, and it does happen in stadiums at a soccer match or some kind of a match, everybody flees. They call it a
Tell
stampede, like
them. What do
cattle.
you think I do?
But
Get to just
everybody, and a lot of
Yeah.
contact
people get
Elon?
killed with those stampedes. We had
Sure.
more people than you'd have at some of these matches or these games, and nobody left. You know, you had a small group behind us in the grandstand, and that was full. And you look at it as it was taking place, and normally they'd be running. They didn't leave. They saw that I was hurt. They saw a lot of blood, and they saw that I went down. And it's almost like they wanted to be with me. Well, out front, you had thousands, tens of thousands of people. As far as the eye could see, you had people in Butler, as far as the eye could see, and
Yeah.
and a lot of press too. There was many cameras on watching this. It's what makes it
They're
so
probably gonna
different
pick
because
the two
normally
people who give the
things
biggest
happen that aren't
donations
good,
during the
but you
show.
never have a picture of it. Here we have all these cameras shooting it, so
Yeah.
sort of amazing. But one of the interesting things was that you didn't have anybody flee. You didn't have anybody stampede.
Sure.
Nobody. And there were some people behind me. They stood up and they're looking like, I mean, I'll tell you,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
want to have them in a foxhole with you. I want to meet some of those people
Sure.
because
Sure.
it's so different from what you heard. But so, so I was down. But the Secret Service
Yeah.
guys, there were bullets flying right over my head. You could hear them go whizzing,
Yeah.
and these guys came jumping on top of me, and a young lady, Kate, uh, would jump. They moved so fast, and let me tell you, that took tremendous courage. Now there was a lack of coordination. There was, obviously everybody understands that somebody that building should have been covered, and
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
that was
I
the
think
big
that
thing.
I mean, looking at the aerial views, that building would be like the number one spot for a sniper. I mean, it's like the if you were to pick like what is the favorite place, what if you so if the goal is to assassinate, what's your favorite spot? That building, the
You're
roof of
right.
that building would be number one.
That would have been the spot.
It's like you can ask for a better
No,
location. It's like number
no, that
one.
would have been the spot.
Um,
You know what people think
yeah,
is when the
There's Elon
local
and Trump
policeman, who, by the way,
Matrix.
he really he did what he was supposed to do. He couldn't hold on any longer. And then when he got
yeah,
his head just peeking above, this guy standing there with a gun at his head. And when he fell down again, hurt his ankle very badly, but he was making the
Whizzing.
calls.
He said
But what
whiz.
happened is the firing took place very soon. So what they
yeah,
think is that this guy ran to his site, which he had all planned out with the gun. He ran to the site and he started shooting fast, and maybe that's why he sort of missed. I mean, he uh,
yeah. But
he
as you
got
said,
me, but
he
it
would have
could have
hit.
been
I mean,
a much
yeah.
bigger problem.
But he totally would have hit if you hadn't turned your head. So like there was it was
We're
a
doing
very near
echo.
It
thing.
was a
So
miracle. If I hadn't
um,
turned my head,
yeah,
I would not be talking to you right now. As much as I like you,
exactly.
I
I would
can't
not.
pause
Yeah,
it,
I would
well,
not be talking to you.
maybe
anything like that.
spoken
So
to me from another realm, perhaps.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right. We'd be
we're just
talking
kind
from
of
a
gonna
so
different
listen tonight,
place.
which is
But
good because I
it
don't have a
was
whole lot
it was a
tonight.
it was a very terrible experience. The Butler Hospital, they did such a great job. The doctors were so good.
Elon's
Everybody was
always
so good.
glitching.
There was a mistake. If somebody knew, because people were hearing that, there was just a bad feeling that there was somebody was around. You know that story now. It's been pretty
yeah,
well.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if somebody could have said, because they've oftentimes said, like there'd be a lightning storm or something. Because I've done, I think over 300. I think I did a lot more than that, but we did a lot. And oftentimes they'll say, "Sir, could you wait 10 minutes, please? Sir, could you wait 20 minutes? There's a storm overhead or lightning or something, right?" And
yeah,
that happens
yeah,
often. And this would have been a perfect time for that to have happened. But
Yeah.
It didn't get coordinated. That was the problem.
I'm the only one
Well,
in
it
the
was
group with
your.
Trump and
I think
Elon.
your actions in the heat of fire, and like what I find admirable there was that you can't fake bravery under such circumstances. The courage is instinctual or it is not. It's not a rehearsed action, and so I just want to say that I think a lot of people admire your courage under fire there, and
Well,
yeah. So
thank you very
yeah,
much. I appreciate it. I didn't think of it. I just wanted to get up and I wanted to stand up. I wanted to let people know, I felt I was good when they were on top of me, covering me, actually, very much covering me and very bravely. But I wanted to get up. I said, I want to get up. And they wanted, they have everything there. They wanted stretcher. I didn't like the
Fact check,
stretcher.
they
And I knew
don't
I was hit
actually
in
have
the ear, but I knew I
everything
wasn't
there.
hit anywhere else. They felt I was hit someplace else
yeah.
because it was such a lot of blood, and they were sure that I was hit someplace else. And they were saying, "Sir, you were hit more than the
Just
ear." I said, "Nope,
terrible.
I was hit
Terrible
in the ear. I
shot.
want to get up. Let me get up." And so I got up, and the crowd didn't know what to think. I mean, this was so many people, and you could see they were confused.
It's
They didn't know
Men's
what to
History
think.
Month. This is
And
a Men's
I
History
wanted
Month
to let them know
moment
I was
brought to you by
okay. It
Donald
was
Trump
very
and Elon
important for me to
Musk.
let them
Yeah.
know that. And they went wild. You've seen the after. They didn't go wild when I
Yeah.
got up because they didn't know, was I alive. You really couldn't tell when I stood up before before the fist in the air. Uh, they didn't know if I was alive. Nobody did. And
Well, the
when
fact
I
that
put
you
the
were
fist up,
standing up.
they were just relieved and happy and thrilled, and the place went crazy. It was
Blood,
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It
blood
was
clot.
a
Well,
terrible thing, but
it was
really nice.
incredibly moving. Yeah. Um, well, and I mean, speaking of
Where's William Gramer?
the
Shout
sort of
out
slide
William
that got you to
Gramer
turn that
for the Cash App
saved your
last
life
week.
really was the illegal immigration
Right.
slide. Maybe this
That's right.
maybe this is worth talking about that, since
It was.
that slide
You're
saved your
right.
life
No,
basically.
the illegal immigration saved my life. You're right, but and I
I
had to
know
be at
that's
that exact angle.
I mean that's a great one. Saved by illegal
You know,
immigration.
the incredible
100%.
thing though, when you talk about the odds, you had to be exactly at that angle. But the incredible
Yeah.
thing is that the chart, I used it less than 20% of the time. It was just a moment.
Yeah.
It's always on my left, never my right, and it's always at the end of the speech. So here
Yeah.
we have it. It's on the right, not the left. It's at the beginning, not the end. And even the people that put it up, they were unprepared, and they did a great job. They got it up immediately, fortunately. But I looked to the right, and the bullet came whizzing by, hitting my ear. So it was amazing. But when you think of the
Shout out
odds of that,
McBullets.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
What's a McBullet?
normally you wouldn't use it. Normally I wouldn't have the thing, and then it would
Yeah.
have been a very different story. It's very much. I say an act of God. It's a miracle that it happened, and I'm
Sure.
honored by it. I'm honored by it.
Well, what were you about to say about illegal immigration before you were rudely interrupted with a
Well, I was
bullet?
going to say how good the numbers were. By the way, we're going back to Butler, and we're going to go
Great.
back in October. We're all set up, and the people are fantastic in Butler. It's a great area.
Going back
Great,
to
these are
Butler. He's
incredible people.
going
Like the
back
three
to
that, in the
Butler,
case of
Butler.
Corey killed, and the other two,
Going back
the
to
families I
Butler.
got to know them a little bit, and the families are great. But
Don't
we're
do
going
it,
back to
Trump. There's
Butler.
crazy people out there.
And I think I'll probably start by saying, as I was saying,
As you were
Secret
Friday
saying.
Service
being
told you
so
that?
So
horribly interrupted.
yeah,
But
yeah. So rudely interrupted by an
yeah,
assassination
so it was,
attempt.
You got an
Um,
inside
but the
line to the
chart,
some
Secret
people
Service?
have no manners.
Elon, the chart was just a chart that in my last week, we had the best illegal immigration numbers, meaning stopping. It was at the lowest. You've seen the chart. It's become quite a famous
Yeah.
chart,
Yeah.
but that was the lowest
Yeah.
point ever recorded. It was a really, I mean, I was very proud of those numbers. And then you see what happened with these people, Kamala and Joe. You see what happened. They just let it go. I had remain in Mexico policies. I had all these different policies that was so good. Uh, Guys like Tom Homan and Brandon Judd from Border Patrol. These are all people that they've been on television. They says the best numbers we've ever had. We had so many different checks, catch and release in Mexico, not the United. We had catch and release in the United States. We had it in Mexico. We had so many things. We had
Trump has a
things where if
golden check
many
mark
people come in there,
on this
they
one.
have contagious diseases. We had everything passed. If you have a contagious disease, I'm sorry, but we cannot allow you into the country. So we were setting
Yeah,
literally records, and all I was doing is showing that, and I use it sometimes,
sure.
and in this case, I'm glad I used it. I can tell you that, but they were fantastic
Great
numbers. But
chart.
I'm going to sleep with that chart always.
Fantastic
I'll be
chart.
sleeping with that chart. That chart was very important for a lot of reasons.
Well, and it's
I mean,
important that you save
would
our
it be accurate
country,
to
Mr. President.
to say that
Thank
you're
you.
supportive of legal immigration, but that but we also need to shut down illegal immigration and especially
Hold on.
unvetted illegal
Yes.
immigration
Hold on,
because
stubborn one.
and that's not the same as saying that everyone who's an illegal immigrant is bad. In fact, I think
I
most
can do
people who
Elon
are
too.
illegal
Listen.
immigrants are actually good, but you can't tell the difference unless there's a solid vetting of who comes across the border. Does that accurately
100%.
represent your position?
I say it
Okay.
very simply. They have to come in legally. They have to be checked
Yeah.
because look, Kamala was the border czar. Now she's denying it. Everything that I do, she's
Yeah.
saying she was strong on the border. We're going to be strong. Well, she doesn't have to say it. She could close it up right now. They could do things right now. It's horrible. No tax on tips, and all of a sudden she's making a speech and there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago.
That's my
And
Trump
by the way,
impression.
they had just the opposite. They had not only tax on tips, but they hired 88,000 IRS agents, and
88,000.
many of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies and all of this on tips. They have a policy. They had a policy that they were really going to go after you, and were really harassing people horribly. And then all of a sudden, for politics, she says, she comes out with what I said, which I think is terrible, and I think it's also hitting them very hard. These people are fake. Now they're also saying they did a good job in the border. We had the
That
worst
was a good
numbers in the
impression.
history of the world, not of our country. There's never been a country in history that has had a catastrophe like this. We've had, I believe, and I think you believe this too. You hear 12
Yeah.
million, 13. I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country,
Yeah.
many coming from jails, from prisons,
Insane
from
asylums.
mental institutions, or a bigger version of that is
Yeah.
insane asylums, and many are terrorists.
They
And I'll
told him
tell
you
you
need to
what,
stop
they're
saying
coming
insane
not just from
asylums.
South America, they're
He's like,
coming from
okay, we'll
Africa,
call
they're
it a
coming
mental
from all over the
institution,
world. They're coming
but I'm
from
going to make it
Asia.
clear.
They're
Yeah.
I
coming
mean
from
insane
the
asylum.
Middle East. They're coming from countries that are uh, stupidly and horribly bombing Israel October 7th. They're coming from all over the world. And you look at, it's so sad October 7th because it should have never happened.
Yeah.
It's so sad when
Sure.
you look at Ukraine. It should have never happened. We have a defective
Yeah.
government. These are defective people, and they're not people that should be
Defective
running it.
people.
But where you see it the best is the border, because you have millions of people coming in a month, and then she gets up and she tries to pretend like she's going to do something. She had 3.5 years. And by
That's
the
going
way,
to be
they have another
clipped. Trump
5
calls
months
Democrats
that they can do
defective.
something, but they
Yeah.
won't do anything. It's all talk. She's
No.
incompetent and he's incompetent. And frankly, I think that she's more incompetent than he is. And that's saying something because he's not too good.
Yeah. No, I think it is essential to have a secure border. I mean, you're really not a country unless you have a
Correct.
secure border. And
And
uh,
secure elections,
you
too.
know, yeah, absolutely secure elections. And so it's just essential to have a real border, or we can't function as a country, and our service, our central services are being overwhelmed in a lot of cities. And as we were talking about earlier, I think having a legal immigration process that is smooth and efficient and done well, and speaking as someone who is a legal immigrant, and I think I mean, like one way to think of it is, who do you want on your team? Who do you want on Team America? And I think you want to just
America.
say, okay,
Fuck yeah.
we want to let in people
Here
who
to
are going
save the
to
motherfucking day.
be
Yeah.
great contributors to our society and to our economy,
Right.
and And who do you want on the team?
Who do you
And
want on Team America?
and it's not to say that, like in my opinion, actually, I'd say like probably most of the illegal immigrants actually are actually good, hardworking people. That's my opinion. But some are not, and you just have this sort of adverse selection process where, if somebody's, if somebody's like you know, uh, has a career in
It's
theft
trying
or
to run
robbery.
ads every 2
I
minutes.
don't understand
What the
what's
heck?
taken them so long to get
But I
here.
can't do super
Um,
chats. YouTube.
because we're such a target-rich environment. Um, I mean, why aren't more people who have a career in, bad things coming here sooner? Because it's a piece of cake to go rob, houses in LA or New York, compared to other parts of the world. And in a lot of places in America, if you try to stop the person who's robbing you, you'll be arrested.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's insane.
It's right. I mean, what's happening with crime, and our police are so good, but they're not allowed to do their job. But I have to tell you, Elon, I
They're
hate
not.
to say it because it's such a downer to say it. I hate to say it. I hate it, but you have a lot of people that just shouldn't be. I think it's a much bigger number than you think. They're
I
allowing,
think you're
again,
right.
they're
Yeah.
allowing people from their jails. And if you were running one of these countries where they're coming from, you would have had all of them. As an example, Venezuela, their crime is down 72%. They're taking their drug dealers. They're taking, frankly, their prisoners. They're emptying
They're
out their
not sending
prisons.
their
They're
best.
taking their criminals, their murderers, their rapists, and they're
Yeah.
delivering them into
But
the.
that's what Castro did
Yeah,
that.
well, he did on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
It was a much smaller
Yeah.
scale. But this is a massive scale because this is being done worldwide. But here's what's happening: crime all over the world is down. And wait till you see the numbers that we have. This is migrant crime. This is crime that's going to be.
Yeah.
And I saw it today in New York where somebody was knifed with a
Knifed up.
raped the girlfriend of a man that stood there watching in New York in one of the shelters and started
Sure.
pulling out the knives, and bad things happened today. But this is happening every day. These are rough people. These are people that are in jail for
Yeah.
murder and all sorts of things. And they're releasing them into our country. And they're telling them, if you come back, we're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you. So they don't want to come back. But these are rough people.
Yeah.
These are criminals that make our criminals look like nice people.
Stop
And it's
releasing
horrible what they're
criminals.
doing. And she's in charge of it because now she's trying to say she
Sure.
had nothing to do with it. And she's such a liar because she was called the border czar the first day, and it was on the headlines of every newspaper. She's the border czar, and she never even went there. She went to one location which had nothing to do with where the problem is. She went in and out, I
Right.
guess, because she was getting a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
had
She gets
nothing
a
to do
lot
with
of
the
in and
problem.
out
Yeah.
action.
But she was
Well,
the
well,
border czar,
Kamala.
and people
yeah. Yeah.
can't allow them
She was in
to
and
get away
out.
with their disinformation campaign. Now she's trying to say that she wasn't really involved, and the whole thing is horrible. She was totally in charge. She could have shut the border down without him. He didn't know what he was doing anyway, so he wouldn't have even known
Yeah.
what happened. You could shut the border down; he
Yeah.
wouldn't even know the difference. But uh, the fact is that she was border czar. But if you don't have to call her
Yes.
that, the fact is you could just call her.
I
She
call her
was in charge of the border, and
Border
the border was the
Bazaar.
worst
Right.
ever.
It's simply not working.
No, it's
I mean,
horrible.
whether it's a question of intention or competence, either way, we don't have a secure border, and we have people streaming over like it looks like a World War Z zombie apocalypse at times. And sometimes you got to
Damn,
sort of wonder,
Elon.
like, is it real or not? So because you see things, you're like, is it real? So I went to the border at Eagle Pass, and I saw for myself in Texas,
AKA
and I
the
was like,
borders are
okay, it's real.
open.
I'm like seeing this in real time. I actually
Yeah.
posted the video
Borders
like this
are.
live.
Is that short
I
for
just flew
borders
over
are
there and just
open?
to see, hey, is this made up or real? And I'm just seeing people stream across the border, and I have to say, at least the people that I saw did not look friendly.
These
So
these are
people
people.
can look at my video and say, hey,
Yeah.
these people look friendly. I don't look super friendly. So,
These are people that
um,
Elon would not be the same man if he had to walk across the street and look these people in the eye. These are rough
Oh
people. These
shit.
are really rough people coming across. And I know rough people. And these are people that we don't
I
want
know
in our
rough
country.
people.
And the caravans are coming in and they're putting, and who's doing this are the heads of the countries. And You would be doing
Yeah.
it, and so would I. And everyone would say, "Oh, what a terrible thing
I'm
to
sure
say."
some of the
The
10
fact
question
is, it's
askers are going to
brilliant for them
be
because they're taking
big
all of their
liberal names
bad people,
on
really
X.
bad people. And
They're going to
I
be like,
hate to say
I
this,
believe you lied,
the reason the numbers
Trump,
are
about
much bigger than
you
you would
said they had
think is they're also
everything. They
taking
didn't
their
have everything.
non-productive people. Now, these aren't people that will kill you. We have enough of them, but these are people that are non-productive. They are just not productive. I mean, for whatever reason, they're not
Yeah. Yeah.
workers, or they don't want to work, or whatever. And these countries are getting rid of non-productive people in the caravans in many cases, and they're also getting rid of their murderers and their drug dealers and the people that are
Yeah.
really brutal people. And they're coming into our country
Yeah.
at levels that have never been seen before. And I saw an ad just before I got on the air. I'm walking over here, and I saw an ad by Kamala saying how she is going to provide border security. Where has she been for 3.5 years? For 3.5 years,
Yeah. No. No.
we have 20 million people
I
poured
think is.
in. It's a terrible
Yeah, I
thing.
think this, frankly, I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years
4 more
of open
years.
borders, and it's going to be
Oh,
even
no.
worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past, three and a
Yeah,
half
and then they're
years.
going to give them all
Uh,
amnesty and
I'm
they
not
can
sure we've
vote.
got a
We're never
You
going
country
to
don't have
win
a country,
at
election
that
Elon.
point.
again,
Elon,
and
if
America's
they
over.
get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from
I was
all over
thinking
the
the
world,
exact same
not
thing,
South America
Nada.
only. You know, we think of
I
South
was thinking the
America, we
exact same
think of
thing. I was like, I
Honduras and
bet
El
you in my head,
Salvador,
I didn't say it, but in
Guatemala,
my head, I was like,
and Mexico, you know, the four.
I bet you the
But it's
Krads
not
and
that.
Scenes
It's
get on there for a
everywhere. They're
question.
coming in from
Yeah,
everywhere. And I had to stay in
yeah, I think
Mexico.
this is a super
And those
important
guys
Yeah.
point. Like
suck.
people,
Like, those
it's
guys are
like
horrible.
basically when I went down there, I was
They're
like, well,
so
where are people
boring.
from? It's like almost no one was from Mexico. To be
No,
clear,
Mexico
it's
less,
just it's just
less
it's
of
just the
the others.
border. It's just the border with Mexico. But the people coming in, it's Earth, the rest of Earth, and America is only about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. It would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything in the
We're
U.S.
already
So
overwhelmed, Elon. We're overwhelmed. You had to see the news tonight about New York. New York, and I love that place, and what they're doing to it is horrible, what they're doing to it. And all the courts do is they
yeah,
try and focus on Trump. Okay, then let's focus on Trump, who did nothing wrong. I complain about a rigged election. Elon, what's happened is unbelievable. You have from Africa, from the Congo, they're coming from the Congo, and 22 people came in from the Congo recently, and they're murderers, and they're dropped. They drop them. They take them out of jails, which is very expensive, you know, to maintain the jails. Although they don't do too much maintaining, I can tell you. But they take them out of jails, prisons. They take them
Glazed.
out, and they bring them to the United States. They deposit them in the United States. If they don't
Glazed.
ever come back, you're going to be executed, and they don't want to come back. But they won't come back.
sure.
But they're coming from Africa. They're coming from Asia. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from South
Well,
America.
just
They're
Earth,
coming from
rest of Earth,
everywhere.
basically.
And there are a lot of
Yeah,
really
everywhere on
bad
Earth.
ones.
It's it's just an everywhere on Earth thing, and it's just not possible for the United States to absorb everyone from Earth, or even a few percent of the rest of Earth. It's just
What
not
about
possible.
Mars?
Well,
So
Elon, we're going to have,
We're all going
to
to
yeah.
go to
finish this up,
Mars
we're going to have
to
the
finish this
largest
up.
deportation in history of this country. And we have no choice. Otherwise, we're going to have a country, what they've done to our country. Think of it, with in Venezuela and in some of these other countries, crime is down 50, 60, 70, 80%. And you would be the same. You would have.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, Venezuela has not gotten rid of all of them. They've gotten rid of about 70% of their really bad people. Their jails are about 50% put into the United States. Same with other countries. Some
Sure.
are at 30%, some are at 50%. They're all different. But the bottom line is they're all going to be at 100%. Why wouldn't you put 100% of,
Yeah.
and they're doing it right now while this third-rate phony candidate, don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably. And, some people said, oh, gee, it's too bad. It's too bad he did so badly, or I did well in the debate. The first night they said, wow, one of the people at CNN said that
Wow.
was the greatest debate performance I've ever witnessed. And then 2 days later, they didn't talk about that. They just said he was bad. But that's okay. That's the way I get treated, and I don't mind that at all. What I can tell you is this:
One of the greatest
we cannot have a Democrat. We
debate
cannot have her. She's
I've
incompetent.
ever
She's
seen.
as bad as Biden in a
It's
different. Look,
yeah.
she hasn't done an
I mean,
interview since this
Yeah.
whole scam started.
Well,
And say what you want. This
yeah.
was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said we can do it the nice
Yeah.
way or we can do it the
No.
hard way.
Yeah. Not, I mean, they just took him out back behind the shed and basically shot him.
Oh, what they did
Biden.
with this guy,
So
and I'm no
yeah.
fan of his, and he was a horrible
Elon, calm
president, the
down,
worst
buddy.
president in history. And one of the reasons he was so bad, first of all, the Israeli attack would have never happened.
Elon's a
Russia
little
would never
autistic.
have attacked Ukraine, and we'd have no
You don't
inflation.
want to
And we
say
wouldn't
that,
have had
Elon.
the Afghanistan mess, if you think of it.
Well.
And we wouldn't have had
Yeah.
Afghanistan. But we think of it,
Well. Yeah.
you take a few of those events away, and we have a different world. We would also have
No. No. You're. Yeah.
inflation was caused by oil.
Yeah, no, no. I think you're making an excellent point here, which is that when other countries can, that are, are thinking about invading or doing bad
Come on,
things,
Elon.
when they're thinking about that, they're thinking about, okay, what's the American president going to do, and do they fear the American president, or is it someone they do not respect and do not fear? And I think they would
They
they
they don't
rightfully
fear
be.
Joe
I
Biden
mean,
or Kamala.
look at the footage of the assassination. They're like, okay, uh, President Trump is like, don't mess with me. I mean, that's like, whereas I think people are not going to be, and they obviously have not been at all intimidated by Biden, and they certainly will not be intimidated by Kamala. And you have to really think of that in the context of global security. That if the American president is someone that, like, evil dictators are scared of, that makes a huge
What are you talking
difference
about,
to the
Dean? You
security of
don't
the
know what you're
world.
talking
Oh,
about,
I had a
Dean.
good relationship with
I'm
Putin,
just
despite
kidding,
the
Dean.
Russia hoax that lasted for over 2 years. Just a hoax created by Hillary Clinton and Adam Shifty Schiff, some just bad people, just sick people, frankly. I mean, Schiff is a sick person. He's going to end up probably being a senator. It's hard to believe. The whole thing is hard to believe. But, they put our country in danger with that stuff, too. They actually, when they make up stories, and you have to fight your way out of it for a long time. But I know Putin very well. I got along with him very well. He respected me, and it's just one of those things. And we would talk a lot about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. But I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. I shut down Nord Stream 2. That was the big oil pipeline, the biggest, I think, the biggest pipeline in the world going all over Europe. I shut it down. Biden came, and then they say,
Yeah,
I loved Russia. I was a friend of Putin, and I loved Russia. No, he actually said to me one time, he said, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as an enemy. I shut down his pipeline, the biggest pipeline. They were looking at that to
yeah,
fund, and this pathetic president gets in there, and the first thing he did, one of the early things he did, is he shut down. He shut down Keystone XL pipeline, which is our pipeline that would have employed 48,000 people, pipeline workers, shuts it down. That was, a
Pipeline
massive
workers.
job that Obama refused to allow.
yeah,
I allowed it in my first week because it was jobs and it moved oil. And by the way, in a much more environmentally friendly way. It's underground. It's not a truck that catches on fire or a train that catches on fire. But think of it. He shut down the uh, XL pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline. He
yeah.
shuts that down and he approves the Russian pipeline.
I
Yes,
think they've
it
been
still
going for
makes
more
Right.
than
sense.
20
It's like,
minutes.
it's inconsistent.
I don't see a timer, but
Certainly but I mean, I think it's just worth emphasizing, to listeners, the immense importance of whether the United States president is intimidating or not intimidating, and how much that matters to global security, because there's some real tough characters out there, and if they don't think the American president is tough, they will do what they want to
I
do,
know every one of
and
them.
it puts the whole
Yeah.
world in danger.
Elon, I know every one
It's
of
a
them,
big
and I know
deal.
them well. I know
Yeah.
Putin. I know President Xi. I know Kim Jong Un of North Korea. I know every one of them. And let me tell you, people will say, "Oh, this is terrible." He said, "I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough. They're smart. They're vicious, and they're going to protect their country. Whether they love their country, they probably do. It's just a different form of love, but they're going to protect their country. But these are
Yeah.
tough people at the top of their game. And when they see a Kamala or when they see Biden, Sleepy Joe, they can't even
Yeah.
believe it. They can't believe this happened. All the stuff that you're seeing now, all the horror that you look at Israel, they're all waiting for an attack from Iran. Iran would not be attacking, believe me. when I was there, and I say it with respect because I think we would have been good with Iran. I don't want to do anything bad to Iran, but they knew not to mess around. Iran was broke because I told China, if you buy from Iran oil, it's all about the oil. That's where the money is. But if you buy oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business with the United States. And I meant it. And
No
they said, we'll
Iranian
pass.
oil,
Yeah.
They
because
didn't
they're
buy oil.
hacking our
Other countries
dang
likewise. If
Sure.
you
system.
want to buy, you're not doing business with the United States. And they were at a point where they had no money for
Who's
Hamas.
not
They had
hacking
no money
us?
for
China's
Hezbollah. They had
hacking
no
us.
money for any of
Iran's
these
hacking us.
instruments of terror. And it was amazing. In fact, there were articles when I was leaving, which is hard to believe, actually, especially when you look at what's happened to our country. Our country is so bad right now. It's such a different place. We were respected. Think of it. 4 years ago, we were so respected to a point where when I said don't buy oil, they didn't buy oil, but they had no
Yeah,
money,
yeah.
and Israel would have never been attacked. It is zero chance. And again, I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad
Vladimir,
day. You cannot do it.
don't do it,
And I
Vladimir.
told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way. And it's the last time we ever had the conversation. He
Could
would
you
he would
imagine
never have done.
Trump
I
and
got along
Vlad
well with him. I
sit down
hope to
and they're
get
like,
along
no
well with him
way,
again. Getting
way.
along well with them is a good thing, not a bad thing. I got along well with Kim
Yeah.
Jong Un when I met with President Obama just before entering. It's a sort of a ritual.
I call him
And I
Little
sat
Rocket
down with him
Man.
and we talked. It was supposed to be for a very short period of time. It turned out to be a long period of time. I said, "What's the biggest problem?" He said, "North Korea." I had that problem worked out very quickly. It was nasty at the beginning with Rocket Man and all the different things,
Yeah.
but all of a sudden I
Those
got a
some those
call.
those some
Oh,
those were some epic tweets, by the way.
yeah, they
No
were no, they
way,
were epic
Actually,
everything. He
way.
said that he has a red button on his desk. I said, I have a red button on my desk too, but my red button is much bigger and my red button works. And then I called him Little
yeah.
Rocket Man, if Little Rocket Man. Anyway, here's the bottom line. All of a sudden I got a call from him
Elon's big rocket
and
man.
they said they want to meet. They want to meet me. And we met,
Yeah.
as you remember, we met in Singapore. We met also in Vietnam. And I got along with them great. We were
Yeah.
in no danger. But
Yeah.
President Obama,
It's
President
because
Obama thought
they
we were going to
respond.
end up in a
Yeah.
war, a nuclear war with him. And let me tell you, he's
Yeah.
got a
It's not
lot of
true.
nuclear
Yeah,
stuff too. He's
exactly.
got plenty of nuclear.
It's
He can do plenty of damage.
it's
So
yes. I mean, it's because
I'm sure
people
Elon has
like
nukes,
Kim
electric
Jong
powered
Un.
nukes.
They respond to
yeah,
strength, not weakness.
well,
And
he and I
if you
he and I
project
had a good
strength,
relationship.
you're good. Yeah.
He
Remember
makes
I met him
rockets
and we walked onto his
and
land. Nobody ever
cars,
walked onto his land before.
space travel.
I
I'm sure he's
walked
got
onto.
some
I wouldn't
nukes
say.
Yeah.
Let's
That
bring
was
up
cool.
Secret Service
or
again. I
something
wouldn't say
way
they were
stronger
thrilled
than a
when I
nuke.
did that. I walked onto his land, and it was an amazing period. But we were not in danger with him because of me. I always
Yeah.
say that we have enemies on the outside and we have enemies on the inside. We have some really bad people in our government and people that are and controlling of the people. I mean, I'd mention names, but I
Look
don't.
at
I
this
really don't want to give them the
person.
credit.
Am I
But
the
we
only
have some
person
really
that
bad, and
made
I
it
say
in?
they're more
No, there's
dangerous than
1.2 million
Russia
people
and China.
listening, bro.
If you have
The only
a
reason you were
smart
having trouble
president,
getting
a
in is because
president
you
that
were
gets
late.
it, we are not in danger from those countries because they need us and they need our help. I mean, we forced Obama. If you think about it, Obama and Biden and Bush, to a certain extent, in all fairness, forced Russia and China together. And if you're a history student, the first thing you learn is you cannot let Russia and China align. But then they also got, if you take a look, Iran and they have North Korea. That's, they call it the axis of evil. In the old days, you had the axis of evil. Here we have a modern day axis of evil. These are powerful countries, very heavy nuclear, which is the biggest threat.
Yeah.
The biggest threat is not global warming, where the ocean's going to rise one eighth of an inch over the next 400 years. And you'll have more oceanfront property, right? The biggest threat is not
Well,
that.
that
The
would mean
biggest
you would
threat is
have
nuclear
less, but
warming, because we have 5 countries
Well,
now that
yeah.
have significant nuclear power, and we have to not allow anything to happen with stupid people like Biden. Biden did something with Russia. There was no chance of him ever going in. And when I left, and then after I left, they started forming big armies
China.
on the border with Ukraine, right? And I looked at that, And I thought he was doing that because Putin's a good negotiator. I thought he was doing that to negotiate. But then Biden started saying such stupid things. For instance, he said that it can be a NATO country. Now, Russia, for as long as there's been NATO, has said we're never going to agree to that. And we go right up front and say that. And we did things and said things through this president with a low IQ, very low IQ. He had a low IQ 30 years ago, by the way, but now he might not even have a IQ at all. There's
Oh
nothing
my
on the board that
God.
goes this low. He said things
It's not on
that
the board
were
that goes this
so
low.
stupid that
He
war would have
might
been
not even have
that
an
war
IQ
had
at all.
zero chance of happening if I were there. Zero chance.
Your
He
IQ
was
is
saying
so low.
everything
Yeah.
the opposite.
In fact, it might
Everything
not
the
even be an
opposite.
IQ.
And it's so sad because many more people have been killed in Ukraine than you read about. You don't read about how bloody it is and how disaster.
Sure.
Hey, look, just in the two armies, you lost 500,000 people. And
Yeah.
It's not
you know,
even on the
Ukraine's having a
board.
hard time. Ukraine, I don't know if you saw
Yeah.
the article recently, and it's true. You don't hear the true story, but if you think about it, Russia's gone. You know, Russia defeated Germany with us, and they defeated Napoleon. You know, they've been around a long time. They're a big fighting
Yeah.
force,
Sure.
and it's
Of course.
very unfair. And Ukraine now doesn't have enough men. They're now using young men and very old men to fight, and we're in a very bad position.
Yeah, and they're all about to
And
get
I'm not going
nuked.
to blame
I think we have that
exclusively,
story
but I
later
can tell
tonight.
you, I could have stopped that,
I don't
and
know how long
a
this is going to
smart
go for,
president could
but
have
we're here
stopped that. It
for it.
wouldn't have happened. But we had a
Yeah.
man that actually made it. It made it more prevalent. It was so bad. The words that he was using, the stupid threats coming from a stupid face that he was using. I said, this guy's going to cause us a war. He's going to cause us. And let me tell you,
Yeah.
it can
Yeah.
lead to World War III. That can lead to World War III. The Middle East can lead to. We have
1.3
numerous
million.
places that could end up in a
Yeah.
World War III right now for no reason
No,
whatsoever.
I think you're right. I think people underrate the risk of World War III, and it's just when you're looking at the risk
Come on,
of
Elon.
global thermonuclear warfare, it's game over for humanity, and it's something that people have, I think, after the end of the Cold War, people have become complacent about, but they actually have forgotten that there are currently a lot of nuclear missiles that have targeting parameters for the United States from other
100%.
countries.
And one of the things
And
we're going to do is
it's
we're going to
yeah,
build an Iron Dome over us. Israel has it. We're going to have the best Iron Dome in the world. We
We're
need
gonna
it,
have
and
a
we're going to make it
big
all
ass
in the
Iron
United
Dome.
States. But we're going to have protection because it just takes one maniac to start something. We're going to have protection, and we're going to have. Why shouldn't we have an Iron Dome? Israel has one. Some other place will have one that
Facts.
nobody even knows about, frankly.
I've
But
been saying that for
Israel has it. We're going
years.
to have an Iron Dome. But with all of that being said, to me that's so important, the most important. But with all of that being said, the election's coming up, and the people want to hear about the economy and the fact that they
absolutely sure.
can't buy groceries because they don't have enough money to buy groceries. The inflation has killed them.
We
Food
probably already
prices are
do
up
have an
50,
Iron
60,
Dome,
even 100% in
basically.
some cases. And this stupid administration allowed this to happen, and it's a shame. And that's the thing that people most care about, in my opinion. They care about the border a lot. And we discuss the border at great length. It's nice to have a
Yeah, yeah.
forum like this where I can discuss something at length. And by the way, you think Biden could do this interview? Do you think that Kamala could do this interview? They would take a pass on
No, they
you.
could not.
So they don't need Elon. They don't need Elon screaming out questions. It's pretty sad when you think that somebody that does this for a living can't answer a question or is afraid to do an interview. And in her case, with a very friendly interview, she's got all friendly interviewers. It's pretty sad.
Yes,
But the
absolutely.
big thing now is the
Well,
economy, Elon.
yeah,
And as much as
yeah,
I mean, I view nuclear as the single most important thing, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't understand that. But it doesn't have to. If I understand it, that's all you need. Because if I was president, you're not going to have that kind of a problem. But the
Yeah,
thing that they
basically,
really is
if
making
I'm
them angry is
president, it's
what
going to happen. So
Kamala
you don't
and
need to worry
Biden
about
have
it.
allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster with inflation. The inflation, it
yeah.
doesn't
Stop
matter
trying
what
to
you
run
make.
ads
The
every two
inflation is
seconds.
eating you alive. If
YouTube,
you're
what
a
the heck?
worker or if you're
I put it on minimal
just
ads.
a middle income person, you can't afford. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using
Yeah.
all their money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing
Right.
that's happening, and we'll end that
Well, I think
quickly.
a lot of yeah. a lot of people just don't understand where inflation comes from. Inflation comes from government overspending because the checks never bounce when it's written by the government. So if the government spends far more than it brings in, that increases the money supply, and if the money supply increases faster than the rate of goods and services,
That's right.
that's inflation. Um,
Thanks, Elon.
so really, we need to
Keep
have
us informed.
we need to reduce our government spending,
I think that's
and we
very
need to re-examine. I think we need like a government efficiency
we get
commission
it.
to say like, hey, where are we spending money that's sensible? Where is it not
Right.
sensible? And we need to live within our means. We're currently adding, I think, $1 trillion to the deficit roughly
Right.
every 100 days.
That's right.
And the interest payments on the national debt have now exceed the defense budget. It's on the order of $1 trillion,
It's interest.
and it keeps
Yeah, I
growing.
rebuilt our military, largely rebuilt our military, did a great job on it, which was so important. You know, we had jets, we had fighters that were, and bombers that were 70 years old, and we did a great job in that. Then we, by the way, then we gave 85 billion of it back to Afghanistan, if you can believe it. We gave them 85 billion. You know, they're one of the largest sellers
Yeah,
of military equipment in the world. They're selling what we gave them.
Our stuff.
That
Wow.
was one of the most embarrassing days in the history of our country. But if you think about, let's go back to the economy. We have to bring energy
yeah,
prices down. Energy started at the price of gasoline. Now your cars don't require too much gasoline, so you know you have a good, and you do make a great product. I have to say, I have to be honest with you.
thank
That
you.
doesn't mean everybody should have an electric car, but these are minor details. But your product is incredible. But the
Thank you.
gasoline, Elon, is the cost of energy. Not only gasoline, it's the cost of heating your house and cooling your house. That has
Sure.
to come down. It's gone up 100%, 150, and 200%, and that has to come down. When that comes down, and we're going to
Yeah,
drill, baby, drill. You know, they stopped drilling, and then they went back to drilling because they went back to the Trump policy. But if they won the day after they get into office, we're going to, this country will go out of business because they're going to go to an energy policy that's not sustainable. Wind and different things. You're not going to have anything.
yeah,
And I know you're a big fan of the AI, and I have to say
yeah,
that
AI
AI,
uses a
and
lot of
this is
energy.
shocking to me, but AI requires twice the energy that the country already produces for everything. So you're going to have to build, we're going to have to build a lot of energy if our country will be competitive with China, because that's our primary competitor for this on the AI. You're going
sure.
to
China.
need a lot of
Well, I mean,
electricity. You're going to need tremendous
yeah,
electricity, like almost double what we produce now for the whole country, if you can believe it.
sure. Well, just going, back to this, like this basic thing, which that people try to make it sound complicated, but it's not. But inflation is caused by government
Right.
overspending. Would you agree that we
Why
need
don't
to take
news
a look at
sites talk
government
about
Yes.
spending
Venezuela?
and
They do.
have
If you
perhaps
Google
a government
Venezuela,
efficiency commission that just tries
talking
to
about
make the
all their
spending
oil.
sensible, and so the country lives within its means, just like a
The
person does.
waste is incredible, and nobody
It
negotiates
is.
prices. You used to have a lot of people making jets, and you end up with two companies, and they'll
They got a lot of
probably try to
oil.
merge at some point.
We need to
I mean,
conquer
I went
Venezuela and
through
just
it,
take all that
like
oil.
Air Force, just a thing like
Get
Air
the
Force One.
commies
One of
out
the
of
first
there.
documents they asked me to sign, a general said, "Sir, would you please sign this document?" And what is it? Air Force One.
Then they
That's
can
with
stop
Boeing,
sending us
which is
all of
basically
their
two planes, two 747s.
prison
And the
release
price was
Yeah.
inmates.
$5.7 billion for two planes.
Just
Now,
conquer
they're
Venezuela.
highly sophisticated.
That's
They're
insane.
even nicer than your plane, okay? But much more sophisticated. They're very, I won't say what's on it, but they got a lot of stuff on it. Anyway, but it's
Much more secure,
5.7.
black guys.
That's a crazy
It's a
number.
crazy number, but I said, I'm not going to pay 5.7. I'm not going to do it. I said, who made the deal? Obama and his people. I said, well, then I know the deal's no good. I'm not going to do it. And over a course of about 4 weeks, by my saying I'm not going to do it, I got the price reduced by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane, other than we had a nicer paint job, if you want to know the truth. But for the exact same plane, I saved one. And I said to Boeing, man, you guys must make a lot of money if you can reduce the price by that. But now what I do hear is that they're going back to the Biden administration and wanting big cost overruns, because they see these dopey suckers in there, and they'll end up getting some of the money back. But I shaved it by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane. And you can now take that and multiply that out times thousands of other
Exactly.
items. And
Multiply it by
yeah,
a
the
zillion,
numbers are
and yeah, yeah.
astronomical. I agree with you.
Well, I mean, if so, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. I'd be happy to help out on such a commission
I'd love
if
it.
it were
Oh,
formed.
Well, you're the greatest cutter.
oh,
I mean, I look at what you do. You go in and
Elon
you just say, "You want to
just
quit?"
offered to
They
work
go
with
on strike.
Trump
I won't mention the name of the
on
company,
a
but they go on strike, and you
commission
say, "That's okay. You're all
to
gone.
analyze
You're all
government
gone." So every
spending
one of you is gone, and
and
you
be
are the
more
greatest. You would be
transparent with
very good.
taxes
Oh,
for
you
the
would love it.
taxpayer.
But if you look at
Damn,
Argentina.
what?
Well, I'd be happy to
Yeah, by
help
the way,
out.
congratulations. I
Yeah,
just looked at the number of people that are listening to you and I chat. We'll call it a chat. But
yeah,
congratulations. This is very good. I mean, it's great. And you're an interesting character. The
You're an
new
interesting
head
character.
of a place called Argentina, and he's a big,
Malay's awesome.
he's great. And
Millet.
Yeah,
he's a big MAGA fan, that he ran on MAGA. And he took it to an extreme too. He ran on MAGA, and I hear he's doing really a terrific job. It's called Make Argentina Great Again. It worked out perfectly. He came in, he bought a lot of hats, he brought over, but he's doing a big job. He really cut. And I'm hearing
yeah,
they're starting to do pretty well. Inflation's getting down. They had like
yes, exactly.
2,000%. And they had inflation like not normal inflation. They had the real deal. But we're going to
Yeah,
have that pretty soon. We have, I think we
yeah,
have the worst inflation we've had in 100 years. They say it's 48 years. I don't believe it. I think we have the worst. They
yeah.
don't include a lot of the items that should be included, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's just from government
Worst
overspending
ever.
not spending
Worse
taxpayer
than the
money
Yeah.
damn
effectively,
depressions.
and having just like so many departments, you can't even name them all. And what Malay is doing is he's cutting government spending. He's simplifying things. He's having putting in regulations that make sense, and we're Argentina overnight is experiencing a giant improvement
That's
in
right.
prosperity. But it's also a lesson for the United States, which is that um,
Your
Argentina
two
used
favorite
to be
black
one of the most
guys, you talking
prosperous
about
countries in the world. Um,
Elon and Trump or
Right.
in the like in the 30s,
me and
40s,
Buff,
and because of bad government
the
policy,
Hodge
it ruined
twins,
the country. And if you take Venezuela, for example, Venezuela should be incredibly prosperous. They have
with all their oil.
phenomenal reserves of everything, oil, everything, and it should be prosperous. But if the government's wrong, it impoverishes the people. And so I think we should not be
Take over the
complacent in the
world?
United States and thinking that and taking our prosperity for granted, because if with bad government
This is
policy,
Pinky
we'd
in the
run the
brain
country into
right
the
now.
ground. And that's just something people should bear in mind. Don't take prosperity for granted.
Well, think of education.
Unfortunately, Trump is
So we're ranked
Pinky.
at the bottom of every list of the top 40. We're ranked number 40, number 38. Uh, Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, different countries are ranked good. Actually, China's pretty close to the top. They're a top 6 or 7, but we're ranked at the bottom, almost at the bottom, 38, 39, 40. In other words, horrible. And yet we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. So we spend more. And what I'm going to do, one of the first acts, and this is where I need an Elon Musk, I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts. I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states,
Yeah,
where states like Iowa, where states like Idaho, not every state will do great because states that basically aren't doing good now. You look at Gavin Newsom, the governor of California.
Newscum.
He he's terrible. He does a terrible job. So he's not going to do great
Gavin
with education.
Newscum.
But of the
yeah,
50, I would bet that 35 would do great, and 15 of
yeah,
them, or 20 of them will be as good as Norway. Norway is considered great. You can name them. I mean, they're so good. Some of
yeah,
these countries are so good. But if you go into some of these really well-run states, we have states that don't know what debt is. We have states that have low taxes, no debt, everybody working. They're really well run.
Sure.
and maybe they have certain advantages in terms of location, in terms of, the land or the sun, and the water and the whole thing. There are a lot of advantages that some people have. But if you moved education back to the 50, you'll have some that won't do well, but they'll actually be forced to do better because it'll be a pretty bad situation.
Yeah,
But if you think
well,
about it,
yeah,
you'll have some of
yeah.
these states. I'll bet you'd have 30, 35 states. It'll be much better. And you
We
know
got
what? It'll
earthquake
cost
in Los
less than
Angeles
Yeah.
half
today.
what it is in Washington. And
Yeah.
these people don't care
Well,
about the
yeah.
students
Building your
in
own.
these, faraway states. And it'd
Well,
be unbelievable.
yeah. I think you're making a good point in that if
Pinky and the
the
brain.
states have to if each state has to compete against other
What are we gonna
states,
do tonight,
then
Elon?
people will
Narf.
That's
naturally
right.
move to states
Well,
where it's better.
Well, like
Um,
California, as we said,
well,
it's a
Pinky.
badly run
Same thing
state.
we do
I
every
could go
day.
through it. I got so many friends that
Try
are in
to
those states,
take
even if
over
they're
the
Democrats. They
world.
hate to mention certain states, but Illinois is badly run with Pritzker. He's a real loser. But
yeah.
some of these places are just badly run. But it's almost going to force them to run better, and they won't do it good initially. But you're not going to do worse than you're doing right now. And I would say that
Yeah.
the cost, you would cut your cost by 50 or
There
60%.
appears to be a
And you'd
massive
have a little
DDoS
Yeah.
attack
monitor.
on
They want to make
X.
sure they're teaching
That's
English
what he
as an
was saying
example.
earlier.
Give us a
Yeah.
little
Maybe
English,
it's
right?
Iran.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
No, but I mean, to what? Some of these governors are doing so badly. I mean,
We
they
were
got so
just
many
talking
people
about
moving
Iran
out of their state. They should get U-Haul Salesman of the
hacking the
Year
Trump
award
campaign.
because they're driving so much U-Haul
It's
sales.
actually
It's just
amazing.
people moving out.
Isn't it amazing to you as a businessman that they can even survive? Like Illinois, so many people are leaving, and you wonder, how do they survive? I mean, how do they survive? Uh, I saw where you left California and you moved to Texas. Texas does a great job. But, I
Yeah,
mean, I just wonder, how do these states survive when big businesses, a big oil company just left California, as you know, and they moved to Texas. How do these big states survive when they lose so many businesses and their taxes are already really high? The taxes are among the highest
yeah.
taxes. You almost wonder, how do they continue on? And in many cases, the governors don't do a good job in their crime-ridden places. You wonder, how do they continue to just go on? It's
Well,
not a good
I think there's.
situation.
I mean, I think the only thing that's going to force some of these states to change is if they risk bankruptcy and they're not getting bailed out by the federal
Right,
government.
right. Well, you're
That's
gonna
that's
you're
the
gonna
only thing
have
that's going to
that.
get them to change.
You remember the
Yeah,
area in California where they had that, where I guess somebody had sticky fingers and they stole a lot of money, and they went into a form of chapter, and it was very
yeah,
nasty for
yeah.
a period of time. But now it's probably the most popular place in all of California. So at some point, something like that may have
Oh,
to
how
happen.
long is this?
But the problem is, you can't penalize people that loan money to the state when you have incompetent people like a Pritzker. Look, the family didn't want him in the family business,
Told
and
you I didn't have much
then
of
he
an
ends up
episode
being
planned
governor of
tonight.
Illinois. So what is he going to be?
A
Is he
plane
going to be a
crashed
great
in
governor?
Brazil.
And you have people. I could name every one of them. I got to know
Earthquake in
every
Los
one of
Yep.
these,
Angeles
and some are
today.
very good, and some are just horrible.
Well, I think that I mean the larger point here too, as you're saying, like a lot of people are concerned about the
Elon
economy, a lot
Musk
of people are concerned
Neuralink
about
is now in
inflation,
his
and
second
inflation is
human
effectively a
test
tax on people
subject.
that save money
Yeah.
and for people that are working day to
And then
day,
the
it's
cursed
just it's just
nuclear
a form of
warning.
taxation.
Russia is about to
And
bomb
if we can
Ukraine.
solve the government spending problem, we'll solve the inflation problem, which means people will have a
Russia
better
is about
standard
to
of living, and
Yeah.
nuke
that's a really big
Well, the
deal.
people that got hurt
Um,
worst are the
Ukrainian
people
troops
that
inside
did it
Kursk.
the way they were taught to do it all through, their younger life and their young life and their whole life. The people that
Pinky and the
saved
Brain are
money
awesome.
and then they got no interest on their money
Hello,
and
Brian.
inflation
No.
destroyed them. And frankly, they were almost better off if they didn't do anything like that. I mean, those people have been absolutely decimated, and we're going to bring those people back and help those people. We've got to get the prices down. When I look at bacon costing 4 or
Bacon.
5 times more than it did a few years ago,
sure.
I know.
when
They
you look
messed
at
up with
some
my
of the
dang
food
bacon,
products in,
man.
in grocery stores, people go, they can't believe it. They used to be able to buy
They're out
a
here
whole
messing with your
cart,
boy's
and today,
bacon.
a lot of people just don't have the money. They go in and they can't buy anything. They look at
Yeah,
it's
it's
sticker
I
shock.
think
They
it.
call it
Yeah,
sticker shock, right?
I think it really just comes, like I said, I think it just comes down to really, I guess, two things, which is is that if you solve government overspending, you solve inflation, which improves living
Right.
standards of the average person, and then if you deregulate, like have sensible regulations, so because a lot of the regulations are nonsensical and cause the cost to be extreme for no reason, but unless you've got effective deregulation, like Reagan did a great job on deregulation in the 80s, but it's been 40 years since we had
That's right.
anyone really. I mean, during your administration, we made some progress, but I think there's an opportunity to make, I think, radical progress with sensible regulation.
Yeah.
And if
Well,
it was
Elon, we
those two things, yeah, those are the big
yeah, we
deals.
set a record. We did more deregulation and more restrictions on all of the different businesses than any other president. Remember, I had the rule for every one we put in, you have to get rid of 10 or 12. And we did
Yeah.
radical cuts on all of that. And a lot of that's being put back by this administration. And we did radical cuts on things that weren't necessary. But we were all set. You know, we had the best economy ever maybe in the world. And then what happened is COVID came in and we had to focus on that and nobody knew what it was. And I always say I got good marks on economy, good marks on military. We knocked out ISIS. We did so many different things. We rebuilt. But, you know, I never got the credit that we really deserved on what we did with COVID. We never got the credit. But if had that not happened, a gift from China, from Wuhan, came in from Wuhan, the Wuhan labs, and I always said it, and it turned out to be right.
I had to go to the
But had
bathroom.
that
This
not
is my
had that
least
not
effort
happened, we
stream
were set
ever
to
because I'm
start
just listening to
reducing
this the whole show
debt.
mostly.
We
But
were going to reduce taxes
we
further.
do
I gave
still
the
have some
largest tax
stuff.
cuts,
But
and we were going to
I don't
reduce
even have
taxes
memes
still
tonight
further
because my
for
phone,
middle-income
I can't
people,
hook
not
it
only
up to my
businesses.
computer.
But we did it for
Sure.
businesses because they're the ones that's why we had the great job numbers. But we were set to really start reducing debt.
Charging
And,
cables
you know,
don't work.
we're sitting on the
None of these
biggest
charging
pile of
cables work.
liquid gold anywhere in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia. And we were going to drill and we were going to make so much money. We were going to supply Europe with oil. I had stopped the Russian pipeline and we were going to supply them with oil and gas. We were going to make a fortune. And then the COVID came in and we really had to divert. Then what happened is when they came in, you know, we kept a lot of businesses alive. If I didn't do what we did, we would have had a 1929 type depression. But the problem is when Biden came in, he got trillions of dollars and just started spending it stupidly. You didn't need it anymore. You know, we got over that bad period where everybody was dying and feeling, you know, it was just not a good period. Interestingly, you know, during his administration, many more people died during his administration of COVID than during my administration, and we really got the brunt of it. But people don't realize more people died during his administration than ours. But it diverted us from doing what I wanted to do. But we had the greatest for, you know, almost 3 years.
I don't know
We
if
had
I
the
would
Yeah.
even
great, and
use
you know
that
that
line.
probably better than anybody. So many of your friends
It
said to me,
started,
the
you were at the
best
end of
years
it,
we've
and
ever
then
had
now
in
it keeps
business
going. So,
were
of
during the
course,
Trump years.
Biden's
And
administration is going
also
to have
said that
more.
African American,
I wouldn't use
Hispanic
that
American were so
line.
incredible. They were having the best Asian American women, men, young people without a diploma, young people that graduated from the best
I
colleges,
can't get the memes on my phone. I
from
might just have to
MIT,
pull them
from the
straight off
Wharton
Facebook.
School, from all of the great colleges, Harvard. They were doing better, and people without a diploma were doing better. And
Everyone who streams
everybody
is doing the
was
same thing right
was
now.
happy. And then
Yeah,
COVID came, and
Sure.
we had the problem is
that's
they
to be
spent trillions
expected.
and trillions of dollars they wasted. They shouldn't have taken any money, and we wouldn't be having
'Cause you
inflation
can't
right now,
pause it
which
or
is killing
anything.
our country.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and absolutely. And I mean, I should probably say something about, like, maybe my views on climate change
Yeah.
and oil and gas, because I think I'm probably different from what most people would assume, because my views are actually pretty, I think, moderate in this regard, which is that I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry and the people that have worked very hard in those industries to provide the necessary energy to support the economy. And if we were to stop using oil and gas right now,
It would be
we
a
would all be
problem.
starving, and the economy would
Yeah,
collapse. So I don't think it's right to sort of vilify the oil and gas industry, and the world
I
has
think
a
I
certain
can get
demand
them off
for
of.
oil and gas, and it's probably
Just
better
go
if the United
straight to
States
Facebook.
provides that than some other
Sure.
countries. and it would help with prosperity in the
I just
U.S.
have to adjust it
And at
so
the
that
same time, obviously, my view is like we do over time want to move
names and stuff
to
aren't shown.
a sustainable energy economy, because eventually you do run out of. I mean, you run out of oil
Bro,
and
some
gas.
homeless guy
It's
on
not
my youth
infinite.
on my Facebook posted a
And
post. He said,
there is some risk. I think
if
it's
all
not as the
Americans
risk is
quit
not
their jobs
as high
tomorrow
as a lot of people say it is with
and just
respect to global
stayed
warming. But I think
homeless,
if you just
like
keep
got rid of
increasing the
their
parts per
houses
million
and just
in the
became
atmosphere
homeless for a
long
month,
enough, eventually it actually simply gets
it would shut
uncomfortable
down the government
to
and they would
breathe.
finally
People don't
have to
realize this.
help us.
If you go past 1,000 parts
And
per
I said,
million
what the
of
fuck is
CO2,
this?
you start getting headaches and nausea.
What?
And so
If
we're
everyone in
now in the sort
America
of
became
400
homeless
range. We're adding, I think, about
for a month, the whole
roughly
world would
2
freaking
parts per
end.
million
It
per
would be
year.
chaos.
So I mean, it still gives us. So what it means is like we still have quite a bit of time.
And most of those people would die.
But it's not like
70%
we
of
don't need
the
to
Americans who
rush,
did
and
that
we
would
don't
be
need to
dead
stop farmers from
in a month.
farming, or you know uh, prevent people from having steaks or
Right.
basic stuff like
Right.
that. Like you can leave the farmers alone.
I agree.
In
How
my opinion.
crazy is that where
I mean,
you have
The
farmers
poor
that are
countries
not
would be all
allowed to
right. They'll
farm
figure it
anymore
out.
and have to
They'll be
get
like,
rid of their
oh,
cattle
whatever.
and the whole
Let the Americans
whole
kill
world's a
yeah,
themselves.
that's
little
silly.
crazy, but it's largely taken its lead from us. I do say though, I've heard in terms of the fossil fuels,
Burger flippers say
because
things like that. Yeah.
even to
It's so stupid.
create your electric
So
car and
stupid.
create the electricity needed for the electric car, fossil
He
fuel is
doesn't
what
even flip
really
burgers. He
creates that
sells
at the
weed at the
generating
park for
plants.
the
And,
past 100
so you sort
years.
of can't get away from it at this moment. I mean, someday you might be able to, but I do hear we have anywhere from 100 to 500 years left. Much of it hasn't even been found yet.
Yeah.
But there are tremendous, like Anwar. I got Anwar in Alaska approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. Everybody tried. Nobody could do it. I got it approved. The first thing that Biden did was unimprove to get rid of it. He ended
Yeah.
it. His secretary went in and she ended it. And what a disgrace. That's Anwar. That's bigger, or they think it could be bigger than Saudi Arabia in Alaska. Could be bigger than Saudi Arabia. But they went in and they terminated it. And I'll get it going very quickly, because not only is it big for Alaska, I mean, you talk about economic development, that for the United States, I mean, that is, they say bigger than Saudi Arabia or the same size, and pure,
Yeah.
really good stuff. And, they end it. So I think we have, perhaps hundreds of years left. Nobody really knows. But during that
I mean,
time,
my
something will
estimate.
come around that will be
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my estimate would be, a little more aggressive than that, but it's not the sort of like we're all going to die in 5 years stuff. That's obviously BS. But I mean, my view is like if you just look at sort of the parts per million that increments every year, you get sort of 2 or 3 parts per million every year of CO2. I mean, I think some of that it's problematic if it accelerates, if you start going from 2 or
Right.
3 to say 5, and then there may be some situations where you get just a step change increase in the CO2,
Hmm.
and I think we don't want to get too close to 1,000 ppm, because like that's actually makes it uncomfortable to breathe. Like just existing in 1,000 ppm CO2
We have really
is
bad
uncomfortable.
air
That's like
here in Salt Lake City.
that's considered
And
like an industrial hazard.
when we have
Right.
inversion,
Just
it's like
so it's
you feel it in your lungs.
that's
It's
actually you start getting headaches and stuff. So it's
it's
even
hard.
without global warming,
Yeah.
it's not comfortable to live. So you don't want to get too close to that. But I mean,
That's
I think
because they
we've got.
built a dense city
I
in
think
a
we want to
freaking
just move over,
crater.
and like, and
And so the
if I don't know,
hot
50 to
air
100
gets
years from now,
trapped when
we're
it's cold
yeah, we're
and you get
I don't know,
inversion
mostly
and you're just breathing
sustainable. I
in the
think that'll
same
probably be
cycled air
okay.
in this crater.
So it's not like the house is on fire immediately, but I think it is something we need to move towards. And on on balance, it's probably better to move there faster than slower. But like I said, without vilifying the oil and gas industry, and without causing hardship in the short term, I think this can be done. Without people can still have a stake, and they can still drive gasoline
Sure.
cars, and it's okay. It's like it's not. I don't think we should vilify people for it, but I think we should just generally lean in the
Oh, here's the
direction
feel
of
good Tim Walz
sustainability.
story.
And I actually think solar is going to be a majority of Earth's energy generation in the
Feel good
future, and it's certainly
story.
trending that way. And so you get the solar power, combine that with batteries, so because obviously the sun doesn't shine at night, and then you use that to charge the electric cars, and you have a long-term sustainable solution. And that's what Tesla's trying to move things towards, and I think we've made a lot of progress in that regard. But when you look at our cars, we don't believe that environmentalism, that caring about the environment should mean that you have to
Yeah,
suffer. So we make sure
that's
that our
Elon and
cars
Trump,
are beautiful,
Seasal.
that they drive well, that they're fast, they're
That called into the
sexy, and
show.
they're cool. In fact, literally, I mean, the sexy joke, Model S, Model 3, Model X, and Y spells out sexy. It's probably the most expensive joke out there. Um, but I don't know, I like cheesy humor. So, um, but I'm a big fan of, like, let's have an inspiring future, and
Yeah.
let's work towards a better future, and we can do so without demonizing
Right.
people.
I'm okay.
You know.
It's very interesting. You use the word global warming, and today they use the word climate change because you have some places that go up, and so they were getting themselves in a little trouble with the word global warming because not every place is warming. Some places are going the opposite direction. But I'm sort of waiting for you to come up with solar panels on the roofs of your cars and on the trunks of the cars, and it just seems like something that at some point you will come up with. I'm sure you'll be the first, but it would seem that a solar panel on the roofs, on flat surfaces, on certain surfaces might be good,
Yeah.
at least in certain areas of the country where you have the world
Sure.
where you have the sun. But
Every
I
van
would I
lifer
would
ever
think, and I
already
have
does
no
that.
idea because that's
That's
not
not
my
enough to
world,
run
but
the car,
I would
though,
think that
but it's
this would
enough to
be
power your
something that would
toaster.
be interesting. But the one thing that I don't understand is that people talk about global warming or they talk about climate change, but they never talk about nuclear warming. And to me,
Sure.
that's an
Nuclear
immediate
warming.
problem
What?
because you have, as I said,
Come on,
five
Trump. The
countries where
nukes
you
are
have
fake.
major nuclear, and probably some others are
Nuclear
getting
warming.
there, and that's very dangerous. That's where you need a strong American president because you don't want to have this proliferation. But you have five countries and getting more. China is much less than us right now, but they're going to catch us sooner than people think. They're way lower. Russia and us are number one, and I mean, we're sort of tied. And China is far behind, but they're developing at a level that you're not surprised to hear very fast. They'll end up catching up, maybe even
Yeah.
surpassing. But to me, the biggest
Yeah.
problem is not climate change. It's not, and everything's a problem, but it's degrees. To me, the big problem is the nuclear power. The power of nuclear is so great. And when I talk
Yeah.
about
Nuclear power is underrated. It's
I'll
awesome.
prevent World War
Yeah.
III,
Oh,
I will. But the
okay.
truth is that you have to because this is no longer army tanks going back and forth and shooting at each other. This is
Yeah.
a level of destruction and power that nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, and actually, there's the bad side of nuclear, which is a nuclear war, very bad side. But there's also, I think, nuclear electricity generation is
Absolutely, you're
underrated,
right.
and it's actually, people have this fear of nuclear electricity generation, but it's actually one of the safest forms of electricity generation. It's just a huge misunderstanding. Um, and if you look at the injuries and deaths, caused by, say, I mean, I'm not going to try to pick on coal mining, but just any kind of mining
Right.
operation, and there's a certain number of injuries and deaths per year. And you compare that to nuclear. Nuclear is actually way better. So it's
Yeah, it
underrated
does.
as an electricity source, and I think it's something that's worth reconsidering. But there's so much regulation that people can't get it done.
Right. And Trump's going to
So
handle
that
that.
Maybe they'll have
sort
to
of
change the
have it,
name. The name is just, it's a rough name. There are some areas
yeah, it's a rough
like when
name.
you see
He
what
knows
happened
it's a
in,
It's good
tough.
bad
right,
branding. The
we'll have to
branding's
It's a
rough.
tough
rebrand
one
it. We'll have
though,
to give it a good name. We'll name it after you or something.
because we got
You
so
know,
much crap like
no, it has
the
hey, it has a
UN and
branding
the
problem. When you see
EU
what
and the
happened,
It does
climate
have a branding problem.
missions
when
and
you see what happened in Japan,
all this
where they say you won't
garbage.
be able to
It's
go
going
on
to
the
say
land
no,
for about
America can't
3,000
have
years. Did you ever
nuclear.
see that? And in Russia, where they had the problem, where there's a lot of bad things happened, and they have a problem. And they say that in 2,000 years, people will start to occupy the land again. You realize it's pretty bad,
No,
but
that's not true.
you're
Well, no,
right
no,
about it. It's amazing.
it's actually not that bad. So like after Fukushima happened in Japan, like people were asking me in California, are we worried about like a nuclear cloud coming from Japan? I'm like, no, that's crazy. It's actually, it's not even dangerous in Fukushima. I actually flew there and ate locally grown vegetables on TV to prove it. Um, and I donated a solar water treatment, yes, a solar powered system for a water treatment plant. And
Yeah, but you haven't
because the
been
danger
feeling
is
so
just
well lately, and I'm worried about it.
no, but I mean,
I'm
it's just
only kidding.
it's fine, It's like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So
Right.
it's
Well, that's
clearly
great.
not
That's
They're
something that
fine.
that's great.
so it's not as scary as people think, basically. But
Yeah.
Based,
um,
Elon. See, the
let's see.
nukes are fake. I
Are there some other
told you
topics we should
guys.
touch on?
Elon just
Like
said it.
lawfare. I think
Well,
we need to be concerned about.
what they've done to
Um,
this country.
obviously,
Shout out Elon. Nukes are
yeah,
Well, we just
fake.
won the big case in
Confirmed.
Florida. This was a Biden administration did something that's never been done in this country,
Nuclear
and that's
warming.
go after their political opponent, me, with this nonsense and just nonsense.
It's
And the big case in Florida we won,
they're in my Discord,
but
CSAP.
they always pick
I
a
asked them to
judge and a
come on
jury,
the
and they
show,
use
and
local DAs, they
they're
use
having
the
a debate in
local
my Discord.
attorney generals,
I'm just
like
kidding. They're on
Fani,
X.
Fani, spelled
yeah,
Fani, Fani, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
all a big hoax, and it's all run from there. Like in Manhattan, the one of the top people from the Justice Department went in, ran Manhattan, ran the state.
It's an
The
X space,
Letitia
so there's no
James deal
video
was
or
run
anything.
by a person from the Department of Justice, Biden. They've never done this before,
sure,
and they set up a very bad precedent.
This is
It's
probably so
called
fake.
lawfare, warfare.
This what I'm reading about Tim
yeah,
It's a
Walz.
terrible thing, and never
Probably a fake
happened in our country.
story.
It does happen in banana republics and
He
third world
took.
countries, but it's never
yeah,
happened. And the incredible thing is it actually drove my numbers up because people see, fortunately I have a platform like you, or, in all fairness, like a conversation like this, where I can talk about it and people understand. I mean, you fight for election integrity and you end up getting indicted because you're fighting for election integrity. And when the day comes that you can't fight for election integrity, you don't have a country anymore. So what
yeah,
happens is they went after their political opponent, me. Now Biden's, close to vegetable stage, in my opinion. Okay, I looked at him today on the beach, and I said, why would anybody allow him? The guy could barely walk. Why would anybody allow him? Does
yeah.
he have a political advisor that thinks this looks good? He thinks this looks good because it looks so bad, and it's ridiculous. I mean, and he's been doing
Right,
that
right.
for a long time. He can't lift the chair. The chair weighs about 3 ounces. It's meant for children and old people to lift, and he can't
Yeah.
lift it. The whole thing is
Well,
crazy.
he's clearly not, I mean, he's clearly like we just don't have a president right
You
now.
don't
That's
have a
just obviously the
president, and
case.
she's going to be worse than him
Um,
because
Yeah.
she is a San Francisco liberal who destroyed San Francisco, and then as Attorney General, she destroyed California. You talk about location, and we're talking about the sun and the water and all. There's nothing better than California. She has destroyed that. She was the original DA. She was the original in San Francisco. She was the original Attorney General in California. What she has done to California is, well, you know better than I do. You just
Yeah,
left
my Discord's
California
popping.
for a lot of those
Don't
reasons.
spoil it,
And what
Nada.
she's done
I still
with
haven't watched it yet.
crime, with cashless bail, where you kill somebody. I mean, we have states
When
there
did
you
this
kill
happen?
somebody and they let you out right
2006?
away. I mean, you don't have to even put up, and then they never find the people unless they kill again, and then they let them out again. Our
yeah,
country is becoming a very
This
dangerous place.
story is
And
garbage,
she is a
USA Today. It
radical
bounces
left
around like
San
crazy.
Francisco liberal. And now she's trying to protect. Now she's looking like she wants to be more Trump than Trump, if that's possible. I don't think it's possible, but she wants to be more Trump than
well,
Trump.
yeah.
I want a wall. I
I
want,
think that's
she
yeah,
wants to release all the
yeah,
prisoners that are in detention, and some of these guys are really bad.
right.
That just came
Yeah, I
out
just saw
today.
that.
She
Yeah,
doesn't want to build the wall, even though the walls work. Walls and wheels. In your business, everything you do is obsolete. Almost, well, not the tunnels, but everything is obsolete. Even your rocket ships, they're like a month later, they're obsolete. You find a better way to. The only thing that's not obsolete is a wall and a wheel. And the wall, I built hundreds of miles of wall, and that's why we had such good numbers. I was going to add
yeah,
200 miles. We bought it. We could have flipped it up in
What
3
is this,
weeks, and they
2006?
sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. That meant, I said, wow, that means that they actually do want to have open borders. She wants to have open borders, and now she's going like she's tough on the border. It's such a lie.
Yeah, this is simply not true.
Yeah,
This is simply
no,
not
and
true.
everybody
Yeah,
knows
it's
it's
simply not
not true.
true.
It's a disgrace that she can
Yeah.
say it.
No, I mean, obviously, what's happening sort of overnight is they're rewriting history and making Kamala sound like a moderate when in fact she is far left, like far
Worse
left.
than Bernie
Um,
Sanders. She is considered more
yeah,
liberal by far than Bernie Sanders. She's a radical left lunatic. And if she's going to be our president, very quickly, you're not going to have a country anymore. And she'll go back to all of
yeah,
the things that she believes in. She believes in defunding the police. She believes in no fracking, zero. You don't. Now all of a sudden she's
yeah.
saying, no, I will. I really want to see fracking.
Right.
If they got in
Turning
the
over a new
day she
leaf all
got
of a
in,
sudden,
she'll
huh,
end
Kamala?
fracking. And by the way, if people didn't think that, the lunatics that really believe in that, they won't vote for her. You know, like like the
Yeah.
Palestinians and Israel. She is so anti-Israel, and
He's
she's
talking
bad
about
for both.
Kamala right now, right?
Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him. You know, both sides. That was a hard
Yeah.
thing to do. Unification.
Yeah, no. Netanyahu came to give a talk to a joint Senate and House sitting, and I was there,
I'm
and
taking
Kamala stood
notes
him
on
up.
Kamala
What does that say?
and Tim
I think
Walz.
it's highly
That's
disrespectful. And I say, if you're a
Kamala's full of
Jewish
shit.
person or if you believe in Israel, if you're a person that, is a very
Do your
pro-Israel,
spoiler review. I'm
if
just
you
not gonna
vote for
watch it.
her, it's worse than Biden. And Biden was bad. But if you vote for her, you ought to have your head examined. And you see tonight, I mean, as we're doing this, I'm seeing reports coming that they expect an attack
Okay, so this
tonight
is
or
a feel-good
tomorrow
story about
from
Tim
hundreds and
Walz
maybe thousands of rockets.
and how he
You know,
got
their
into
Iron Dome, as they
his
call it, as we
place.
all call it, but their shield that they built, that can be
We paid for that. We funded that,
swamped.
and we
We'll use
put
the
the
term that's
Yeah.
intellectual
appropriate, swamped.
property
But
into
they
it.
Yeah.
swamp
So
it by shooting enough missiles. You know this better than anybody. By shooting
it's
enough
not
missiles,
that complicated.
they can't defend themselves. They just obliterate the whole
Well,
Yeah.
place. And
missile
that's what
tracking technology. It's
some
kind of
people
it
think
is rocket
they're
science,
looking
but
to do. And we have no leadership. There's no respect for the United States of America with these people. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
she'll be worse than him because she's a believer
Yeah. No,
in
I
being
think you're right.
radical left, and he wasn't.
I don't want to watch
I
this. I
think you're
want
right.
to
I
read
mean,
it.
you really, it's important for the
Why did
public that maybe
Kamala
listen to this
Harris
to
choose
say
to
to
vote
look
Tim
at
Walz?
Kamala's track record, before the last month, and say, is that a track record you agree with? And I think if you're an independent
I'm just reading all the
moderate, you
articles I
definitely would
planned
not
on
agree with
talking
it,
about.
because it is her behavior has been far left. And we're seeing just an overnight propaganda attempt to rewrite history and make it sound like Kamala's moderate when she, in fact, is not
Far
moderate.
from moderate.
Well,
So I
her
think
running
that,
mate approved, signed into legislation, tampons in boys' bathrooms. Okay,
Yes.
now
yeah,
that's
yeah,
all I
that's
And
have to
weird.
say.
condoms in girls'
Tampons in
bathrooms.
That's
boys'
weird.
bathrooms, and that means she believes
Yeah,
in that too. I mean,
yeah, that's
she
not
picked
okay.
this
It's all
guy
the
because he was the closest
tampons,
to
the
her. A lot of people
condoms,
thought she
all
picked
the
sort of the
stuff you
opposite,
need
but she
is
picked
just in
an
all the bathrooms.
anti-Israel radical left person. But she is far
Yes.
worse, they say, than Bernie Sanders. If
Well,
we
I think
have
he might be
her as
worse
a
than
president, if
her.
we have a Democrat at this moment as a
I think
president,
she's kind of
I don't
dumb.
think our country
At
can
least he's
survive.
no.
I think it's a massive. I think we're in massive trouble, frankly, with the Kamala administration, and that's my honest opinion. And
I don't understand why there's a
and
big
I
argument
think
for fracking. Why don't
I think
we?
really it's essential that you win for
Why
the
don't
good of the
we just
country
drill for oil?
this election. And I mean I'm just stating my
Because they
opinion.
say it pollutes the water and
Now
crap. The climate people, they don't.
you may have seen this,
It's
but
all a lie,
I
but
got
they
a letter
blame it
from
on the climate change.
the EU
So
Commission,
we can. It's
saying
bad for the
to
environment.
not have
Native Americans
disinformation
get mad and
on the during this discussion that we're
Uncle
having,
Loco,
and
save
there's a
the
lot of attempts to
reservation.
do censorship
Unkatawa,
and to force
Unkatawa.
censorship even on Americans
It's
from other
poisoning
countries.
the
And
water.
um,
Oh,
what do
people
you
are
think about
growing
that?
third arms
Well,
and
I know
stuff.
the European Union very well. They take great advantage of the United States in trade, as you know. We, through a different forum, NATO,
Yeah, and they make
we
more money
protect
off of
them.
us not doing
And
it.
yet,
They make more money
if you build a
shipping
car in the
oil from
United
Iran
States, you can't
and
sell it in Europe. You
Venezuela.
just can't sell it. It's impossible. The same thing with our farmers. Our farmers find it very difficult to do business. You know, we have a deficit with them of $250 billion, which people don't know. It sounds so nice, the European Union, but let me tell you, they're not as tough as China, but they're bad. And I let them know it. And that's probably why they notified you. No, they don't treat our country well. We defend them, you know, with Ukraine. So we're in for 250 billion, and they're in for about 71 billion, and they have the same size. It's if you add up the European nations that in terms of an economy, it's about the same size. Wouldn't you say as us? And they're in,
Yeah.
and they're in much greater risk. They're right there. We have an ocean separating us from, in this case, the enemy would be Russia. Used to be for the
Yeah.
Soviet Union, but let's assume they're close enough. And what happens is
Yeah, she should have
they're
picked
in for
Shapiro.
70 something million. I think even less than that, billion, and we're in for about 250 billion, and it could be a lot higher than that. And I say, why aren't you going to equalize? Why aren't they paying what we're paying? And they're in much more, it's much more important for them because of the fact that, they're right near there. I mean, they're all sort of in that location. We're not. But
Yeah.
they should, and I did it with NATO. There were only 7 countries that were paid
Yeah, they were
up in
going for a
NATO
while on
out of
this.
28 at the time. And the United States
Yeah.
was subsidizing.
Yeah.
The United States was subsidizing NATO, tremendously subsidizing NATO. And I said, I went
Yeah.
in and I said, you
Yeah.
got to pay up. If you don't pay up, we're not going to defend you any longer. I took a lot of heat, but you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in, and
Yeah. I think a lot of the public isn't aware of the fact that the United States pays a
Wow.
disproportionate share
Washington
of the NATO
Times.
expenses,
and then we get
even though
taken
like
advantage of on trade. So think
yeah,
about
Is
it.
this
well, I mean, the
real?
point of NATO is defending Europe, and it's it's like then okay, well, why is the United States paying
Come
disproportionately
on.
more to defend Europe than Europe? That doesn't make sense. That's unfair, and that is an appropriate thing to address.
Well,
Um,
when you talk about
so
cost cutting and savings and everything else, I mean,
Facts are dramatically.
honestly,
Consider the following.
look,
Mr.
there's
Waltz
nobody that feels
favors
worse about the
abortion up
Ukraine
to the last day
situation
of
than
the
I do
ninth month
because
of
I know it would have
pregnancy.
never happened.
Under
I
his
know
governorship, at
Zelensky.
least 8
He was
babies were
very
allowed to
honorable to
die
me
after
because when
being
they went
born
with the
alive
Russia
during
hoax
botched
and they said
abortions.
I had a phone call with him, he said it was a perfect phone call. It was a great phone call. He could have grandstanded and, said, oh, he was very threatening. He said, no, it
Oh
was a
my
very nice
God,
phone
look
call.
at this.
I called him up to congratulate him on his win, and you end up getting impeached
Look at
because these people
this.
are
yeah, yeah,
lunatics. I was talking about the difference from the people within and the enemies on the outside.
His
In
family's
many cases,
IVF
the
journey.
people from within are more dangerous
His family's
for our
IVF
country
journey.
than the Russias and the Chinas. If you have a smart president, you're not going to have a problem with them. You're going to do things.
yeah,
Now, they've taken advantage
yeah,
of us
absolutely.
incredibly, but you're going to do things with the right person.
Yeah, well, I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with with false attacks, and you didn't try to shut down the media. You didn't try to uh, inhibit their
Free
freedom of speech,
lunches.
and I think
Free
that says a lot.
lunches for
Well,
school
the good
kids,
thing
of
is that
course.
you and I
That's what
have,
I
and
always use
some
to
people,
figure
very
out if a
few,
woman is a
we
feminist.
can get the word out. Although sometimes it's hard because
That's
they
the
don't want to
question I
print
always
it,
ask them. Do you
like
support free school
we're having a
lunches?
great
I'm not a
conversation
feminist. Do
right
you
now.
support free school
Kamala
lunches?
wouldn't have this
Well, yeah. I
conversation. She
mean, the
can't
kid's
because
got to
she's not
eat.
No.
smart.
You're a
She's not a
feminist.
smart
Shut up.
person, by the way. She can't have this conversation. And Biden, we don't even have to talk about it. I mean, he couldn't have this conversation. He would have given up on the first half of a question. He would have walked out. He would have said, "Where am I? Where am I
A
going?" So
non-feminist woman
anyway,
would be
but
like,
Yeah,
"My
no,
kids
he
don't
wouldn't
go
have
to
this.
that's
school.
true.
Not a lot of people would have this
They're at my house.
conversation,
I
but we cover
homeschool
a
them.
lot of territory. But the beauty is
My
that
pen's not working.
we can have a conversation, and
Sorry, I'm not talking about the
Yes, you
I'm
can actually
conversation.
able
have
I'm
a
to
talking
get it
about
out
this
conversation.
without
article.
because I get treated unfairly
this
by
is
the
a really
press.
big
I'm
point.
doing
You can
Waltz
actually have a
research.
conversation with you,
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
and you can't have a conversation with Biden or Kamala. It's like not it's not possible.
That's true.
Um,
It's
so this is like talking to an NPC.
no.
So it's just
Well,
impossible.
but think of it. We need a man or person who's unbelievably sharp in order to stop all the nuclear danger and all the dangers that I'm talking about. And I got along with all these. I got along with Kim Jong Un. We had dinner. We had everything, and he really liked me, and I got along with him really well. By the way, he's He's the absolute boss over there. You know, a lot of people said, "Oh, do you think he really?"
That's for
Let me
sure.
tell you, I saw things that you don't want to know about. He is the boss. But we had a good relationship, and he doesn't like Biden. He considers him a stupid man. He said he's a stupid man. Well, at least he speaks his mind. But you know, in this country, you're not sort of allowed to say it. But I guess you are. You should be allowed to say it if
Yeah,
it's true. But we need smart people, and we need people that have an ability to lead. And she doesn't have that ability. Can you imagine? Now, you know
yeah.
Chairman Xi very well. Can you imagine her and him negotiating or
No, it's
even
silly. It would be
standing
silly.
together? It is, the whole concept
Yeah.
is ridiculous. She is terrible. She's terrible. But she's getting a free ride. I
It
saw a
would.
picture of her
Yeah, yeah,
on Time Magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing. And actually,
yeah,
she looked very much like our great first lady, Melania. She
Melania.
looked, didn't look,
yeah.
she didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman. So we'll leave it at that, right?
Yeah, well, maybe like I think part of what people in America want to, people in America want to feel excited and inspired about the future. They want to feel like the
It's
future is
true.
going to be better than the past, and that
8
America
botched
is going to do things
abortions.
that are greater than
Babies
we've done in
killed
the past.
after being
Reach
Right.
new
born
heights that make you proud to be an American,
from
and
Tim
and
Walz.
excited about the future.
LGBTQ
Um,
rights,
They want the
horrible
and
American
management of
dream
there's
the
back.
George Floyd
You know,
riot,
they want the
fiscal
American dream back
oversight,
more important than
turning
anything else. It's
horrible
it's like
immigration
you
policies,
don't have that
turning
today
it
because the
into
people they've been
Somalia,
just sucked. They see incompetent people running our. You know, the Biden thing is very
legalizing
interesting.
pot.
People just found
Good
him to be
job, Tim.
incompetent. And when I debated
Everybody's
him,
going to
I
need
was
pot when
like,
they're living in
"Is this for real?" It
freaking
was.
Yeah,
Minnesota.
it was just
Something's
absurd.
got a
But I think
gun
there are like
safety,
some
advocacy of
grand
gun safety,
projects that we could do. I mean, I think like we could build a
universal
base on the
background
moon. We could
checks for
send
gun
American
transfers,
astronauts to Mars.
build
Right.
a
We could
red flag law to let
build high speed
Yep.
connections that are
authorities
more
temporarily
advanced than
take
anything
gun.
else in the world between our cities, so people have fast
Sorry, guys.
transport. Um, that it's possible to solve traffic with tunnels.
That's right.
We've already made great
Tunnels.
progress
He's
in
digging
Vegas doing that,
tunnels, guys.
and
He's gonna open up Agartha.
and just do things that
Antichrist
are
alert.
exciting and inspiring and make the future feel like it's better than the past.
Well, I saw what you
Like,
did in Vegas, and I'll tell you, it was amazing. I got to see.
The
I
hyper
took a
tunnel.
big glimpse
The
at it, and
Borgen
it's
or
incredible.
the
It's incredible, and you could do that
what do they
all
call them?
over. You could do that all over. It's deep.
yeah,
You don't
that's
even need much structure. Assuming you're in the right areas.
no, it's straightforward.
It's amazing.
So I think we could do some things that like China's got incredible high speed rail between its cities, but I think it's actually possible with tunnels if with deregulation with an ability to actually where it's like legal to actually do the tunnels. Then you could have high speed tunnels that are
What are
actually
y'all talking about?
better
Bologna
than
sandwiches
anything
aren't
else in the world
expensive.
for high speed transport between
Right.
cities. And that would be something that
Basically, you can't go to space
Americans
if
can
your
say,
country
"Wow,
and others are
okay,
in
we've got
debt.
something that's cooler than
How could you make
anyone else in the
something with a
world."
stance that
That's the
shows
kind of
that?
thing that makes you proud to be an
And
American.
much
I don't believe
safer
that.
than surface
Elon is
trains,
not in
where
debt.
there is
The
a danger
country's
there.
in debt.
With
Elon
people,
can
with
make
crazy
something
Yeah,
that
people,
can
it's
go to space.
much safer, much better.
And
And it's sad because I've seen some of the greatest trains. I find it
the
fascinating,
debt is
and I've
fake.
seen the systems and how they work,
The
and the
$32
bullet
trillion,
trains they
dollars,
call them,
that's
I
funny
guess.
money. That's
And
imaginary
they
yeah,
money.
they go unbelievably fast, unbelievably comfortable, with no problems. And we don't have anything like that in this country, not even close. And
yeah,
it doesn't make sense that we don't.
Melania,
Doesn't make
boing.
sense.
yeah. And I think
She
also
just need
like
to lay off the
there's
damn
I
facelifts.
just kind of hopping on the excess regulation, but I think something that um, like I think people can generally understand is that what happens with laws and regulations is that there's more and more of them every year, and unless there's a process to clean them up, eventually everything becomes
You're right.
illegal, and that actually it slows down the development of new technologies. I mean, if you take the sort of like I think there's room for some reform at the FDA
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
improving the speed with which we approve drugs that could help save lives and improve people's
Yeah.
lives. And
I worked very hard
and
on that. We got that down
yeah,
to the lowest number ever, and we got therapeutics approved in the FDA that people can't even believe the speed. But I took them on. I don't think they like me too much, but I got things approved in the FDA at numbers that they wouldn't believe. And You know, it's a very bureaucratic group. Actually, it's a fine group of people in many cases. I got to know a lot of them, but I was pushing them really hard for Regeneron, for so many different things that were really pretty amazing. But the FDA takes too long. It's 12 years to get a product approved. I got it down to 4, and I
Yeah.
got some things done very quickly. But it's really something that is going to have to be worked on because it takes too long. Just takes too long.
Yeah, it just takes too long, and it's you end up in the same with the approval, but it's just it takes years instead of something that I think could potentially take
Yeah.
months, that improves people's lives. I
Yeah.
think but I just wanted to sort of hop on this point that like there has to be an active process
Free
for
school breakfast and
reducing
lunch to
rules and
all kids at
regulations because
eligible
otherwise
schools,
they just
regardless of
keep building up
income.
every year and
Yep.
you get like hardening of the arteries and eventually everything's illegal or takes forever and
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 then
none of
and
them
then
and none of them
we
can
just
read, by the way.
we just ossify as a society. Uh, we
Sorry,
can't
I'm
make
reading
any
this while
progress,
listening.
and that's it's a really big
Well, you
deal.
know, Elon, just
So
getting back to the FDA for 1 second, I got something done called Right to Try. This is where you can go in and if you're terminally ill, you can use a space age, medicine or whatever it may be. We have the best doctors, the best labs in the world. We really do. And but people would go to other countries because you couldn't use the product, even if they thought it worked, because it's going through the FDA. I got it approved
yeah,
where you can
yeah,
you basically you look, nobody wanted, the doctors didn't want it because of the liability, the
Schools
country
must
didn't want
also
it, our
provide
country,
free
because they didn't want to
menstrual
get sued.
products to
These are people
students.
terminally ill. The insurance companies didn't want it, and the
And that includes
pharmaceutical companies, nobody
condoms.
wanted
I
it.
bet you.
I got everybody
I
into
don't
a
know
room,
that.
and we came up with an agreement that you won't get sued. And also, they didn't want it on their record. If somebody's terminally ill and they die after taking a drug, they didn't want that on their record. So we set a separate list if somebody was, so it wouldn't count as a negative.
yeah,
Okay. And as you know, we got it
yeah,
done. We have saved Right to Try. They've been trying to get this done for 58
yeah.
years. And it sounds simple, but it wasn't because I mean, the insurance companies,
When
nobody
did you
wanted
do
it,
this?
but we got it done.
Sure.
Somebody signs, you sign a document that you're not
Face
going to
down
sue the insurance
restraints on
companies, the country, you're not
students.
going to sue
No
anybody.
face down
And we got it
restraints,
done. And
face
we're
down
saving
holds.
tens of
Because that's how George
thousands of
Floyd died.
lives. Right to Try. Hopefully you never need it.
I mean, that's
But
not
if
how
you
he
Yeah,
died,
do,
but that's
you
how they
don't have to
say he
travel
died.
to Asia.
Wow.
People,
right.
if they had money, they go to
Yeah,
Asia, they go
sure.
to Europe. If they don't have money, they go home and die. That's what happened. They'd go home and
Yeah.
die.
Well, I mean, and actually, to give Europe some props here, it's like if a drug is approved in Europe, which has a crazy amount of regulations, it should obviously be approved in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, they get more regulations than we do. So why would a drug be approved in Europe and not in the U.S.? That's crazy.
Well, we did it. We did
Um,
something that really, they've been trying to do it for 50 years and they just couldn't get it done. And I got it done. And it's really something. But you're right. Some people go to Europe because a drug isn't approved here, but it's approved in Europe. And it's a drug that, generally speaking, would
yeah,
work. It's pretty crazy. You're
absolutely.
right.
And I think so, as long as people are properly informed of the pros and cons and like these are the risks, this is the risk, and like you make your own decision.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, I think just,
So
in sort of closing up, and by the way, I'm looking at the numbers. You got a lot of people listening. I hope you don't get
yeah,
nervous because you got a lot of people listening to you right now, like 60 million or something. What is that number? It's crazy. It's amazing how you can see
60
that right
million
away. How many? What is
now.
the number? Wow.
It was 1 point.
What is it?
well,
Wow.
I think in
Wow,
terms of
that's a
people
that's a
that
big that's bigger than you said. You said 25 and you're much more than double that number, 25 million. I think you're
It
going to be
says
60 or 70.
1.1.
And I guess over a period of time, hey, I
The highest it got
congratulate
was
you. Do I
1.3
get paid
million.
for this or not?
well, I think actually in terms of the number of people that will hear this conversation over the next few days to
Right.
weeks, it's going to be hundreds of
That's what they
millions.
say. Yeah, that's good. Well, look, it's an
Yeah.
honor. Yeah, I just asked this, are you better off now or were you better off when I was president? Nobody's better off now. People, we put out polls on that and
No, I
nobody's
don't.
better off now. Inflation has
I
killed
don't
it.
know where he's getting the
And
60
they also
million
feel
number
very
from.
unsafe. You look at what's going on with
It
a
only
lot of
says
different things. You
1.1
look at
million
the
in this
riots we had
space.
at the
Yeah.
It got up to
colleges over,
1.3
I mean, it's
million
ridiculous, but
Right.
live
all of the riots, they
watchers.
just feel
Maybe
unsafe.
he's talking
And now
about
they really
views.
feel unsafe because you have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. I call it Biden
Well,
migrant
yeah.
crime. Maybe I'll call it
Well,
Kamala migrant crime. But
I mean, with all these things, I always try to get to the ground truth by just asking people. And my mom lives in New York, and I was like, Mom, do you know, have you any of your friends, been attacked or assaulted? And she said, yeah, three of her friends in three
it's
separate
crazy.
incidents were assaulted just in recent months, just walking around the streets of New York. And I said, well, did what happened to the people that assaulted them? Oh, nothing. They got away. Like, and they just
They
know that
always get away.
nothing's going. And they don't even bother reporting it because there's not. They know that there's not. They're not going to. People are not going to get prosecuted. They just let violent criminals out in New York
The
with
only one
with
that gets
zero bail.
prosecuted is Donald Trump. They don't get, they prosecute Trump.
Yeah, I mean it's just obviously messed
Oh,
up
it's terrible.
if violent criminals are being getting off scot
Yep,
free, and meanwhile New York spending massive resources prosecuting you, and it's like what's this and I think the sort of sensible public looks at this and says, what the heck's going on here? This is obviously abuse of the legal system. Um, the legal system is supposed to be protecting the
that's right.
public from violent criminals, and it should be obviously allowing the public to make their own decision about who should be president, as opposed to some legal case.
Once they start this precedent, because this can go on with the next one, I mean, this is a very bad precedent what they're doing in terms of, going after their political opponent. And that's all it is. It's going after their political opponent.
Yeah,
And then you get a judge who's, a strong Democrat, and I'm being nice when I say that, in many cases crooked as hell. But you get a judge and you go into an area where a Republican gets 3 or 4% of the vote, and you'll have a jury pool
yeah,
with people that hate Republicans or hate. It could
sure,
also be the other way though,
of course,
because it could start the other way in areas where they hate
exactly.
Democrats, and you get into a
Yep,
Pandora's box. It's a very dangerous thing for this country, and a very dangerous thing even for the state. New York City is
yep,
losing. New York
absolutely.
City and state lose a lot of business over what they did to me, because these people say we don't want that to happen to us. That's no justice system. You have an unfair system of
Yes,
justice, and it's costing New York State a tremendous amount of money. People are leaving and companies are leaving, and they won't come back. So, all of that stuff is important. But the economy now is the big thing, and we can turn that economy up so fast, and people are going to be back again. We're going to get rid of
yeah.
inflation.
I think there's a lot of
Right.
opportunity. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So
And I just
I
want to
think I
I want to
think
congratulate you. You've done an amazing job. You have definitely got a fertile mind. We can talk. You and I can talk about
well,
rockets
see,
and,
it's kind of you to say. Thank you.
well, tunnels. We can talk about tunnels and rockets and
Tunnels and
electric cars. So
rockets.
many things. I know
No,
you're
Amos
into the
warns us
AI,
about
and that's going to
this.
be another beauty out there.
Dang, that's
So
dangerous.
Yeah.
it's
Tunnels
an
and
amazing thing
rockets.
you've
You
done,
don't play
Elon.
in space and you
It's an
don't dig
amazing
into the
thing, and I
earth.
Well,
congratulate you.
I'm just saying,
I
it's
mean, thank you.
dangerous,
And well, I
guys. You
mean,
need to
I
calm
just to
down.
say here, here's to an exciting, inspiring future that people can look forward to and be optimistic and excited about what happens next. And that's the kind of future that I think you will bring as president, and that's why I endorse you.
Well, I appreciate that. That endorsement meant a lot to me. Not all endorsements mean that much, to be honest. Your endorsement meant a lot. And, we have a phrase, make America great again. It's pretty simple, but it really says that we want to make America great again. And we can do it. We can do it now. But if we were going to suffer another 4 years like we've suffered for the last 4 years, I'm not sure the country can ever come back. That's how bad it is. It's so bad. We have to do a
I
lot of
think that's a
things.
very real
Yeah,
risk.
it's a big
That's a
risk.
very real risk.
Yeah.
And it's I'd just like to note to people listening, like I've not been very political before, and if you look at my record, I've actually been. I'm not like some, so they try to paint me as like a far right guy, which is absurd because I'm like making electric vehicles and solar and batteries, helping them with the environment, and and I actually I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand when he was running for president, and so it's not like I'm like some sort of dyed in the wool long term Republican. I'd call myself historically a moderate Democrat, and but now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country, and uh, I think a lot of people thought the Biden administration would be a moderate administration, but
I
it's
think that's
not,
almost
and
over.
obviously we're just going to see an even further left uh, administration with Kamala. That's my honest opinion. I mean, her dad is literally. I mean, she was
All the
brought up as
people watching
as an actual.
restreams,
Her
how
dad
could they have data
is a
on that?
Marxist economist. You can Google it. I mean, it's not a. We're not making this up. That's how she was brought up. So, and we want to have a future that is prosperous, and I think we're just at this critical juncture, and I think this is a case of the America is going to at a fork in the road,
True.
and I think it will take if the path to, like you are the path to prosperity, and I think Kamala is the opposite. Then that's my honest opinion. I'm gonna get attacked like crazy, and I've also experienced quite a bit of lawfare myself. And but I'm just trying to tell people my honest opinion, and I haven't been really active in politics before, and I'm just trying to point out that my track record historically has been moderate, if not moderate, slightly left, and so this is to people out there who are in the moderate camp to say I think you should support um, Donald Trump for president. And I think it's actually a very important junction in the road, and we're in deep trouble if it goes the other way.
Well, I want to thank you. And, I actually always did think of you as somewhat left. I must say that. So it's
Yeah.
even more of an
Well, that's
honor to have
yeah.
your endorsement. I know how strong you feel about it. But, when you think of her, San Francisco, 15 years ago, I had a great friend, Bob Tish. He said it's the greatest city in America. And now it's almost not livable there. And California likewise. And she was involved in the destruction of San Francisco and the destruction of California. And she will be involved in the destruction of our country if people are so unwise as to elect her. And I hope that doesn't
Sorry, I'm
happen.
not
And I hope
talking a
the
lot,
elections
guys.
are going
I'm
to be run
reading and writing,
honestly.
and
And we're going to turn this country around. We're going to do things
I
that,
just want to
and we can
listen to
do it
this.
fairly quickly.
These are two
And we
guys
have
way
to get
above
rid
my
of the
pay grade
criminals that have
talking.
been, given to us by other countries as they laugh. They laugh at
Yeah.
us. They think we're stupid to accept these people. These are radical, stone cold killers in many cases and terrorists.
Okay, this is a
And
really
they're
good
in our country
article.
by the
This AP
hundreds
article
of
is pretty good.
thousands.
Yeah.
Some of these
And
aren't
we
so
have to take
good.
them
Yeah.
out.
Like
Yeah. I
this,
mean,
I don't
if I
think I
could
need
summarize it,
this.
perhaps, I think these are issues that I think most people in America would agree with, which is that we want safe and clean cities, we want secure borders, we want sensible government spending, we want to restore both
This
the
isn't
perception
important.
and reality of respect in the judicial system, stop the lawfare, and I think that's like, and how are those even right wing positions? I think those are that's just common sense, and that's I mean, would you agree with that?
100%. I don't understand, the whole, they call it progressive. They don't like the word liberal anymore, but call it liberal or progressive. I don't understand how somebody could say that it's okay for them to empty prisons into our country. And again, I told you their
Yeah,
crime
it's
rates
definitely
all
not
over the world
okay.
are going way down, which makes sense. In fact, the next time what we'll do is if something happens with this election, which would be a horror show, we'll meet the next time in Venezuela because it'll be a far safer place to meet than our country. Okay. So we'll go, you and I will go and we'll have a meeting and dinner in Venezuela because that's what's happening. Their crime rate's coming down and our crime rate's going through the roof. And it's so simple. And you haven't seen anything yet because these people have come into our country and they're just getting acclimated and they don't know about being politically correct law enforcement or lack of law enforcement. And our police, I have to just end with this. We have great police, we have great law enforcement, but they're not allowed to do their
He
job. They
said
have
he's
to be
gonna
able to do
end
their
Yeah.
job
like
without being
multiple
destroyed.
times.
Well,
They keep going though,
absolutely, and it's obviously demoralizing if you're a
which is a
police
good
officer risking
sign.
your life to arrest violent criminals who could kill you and do kill you sometimes, and then you arrest the violent criminal, and then the DA doesn't prosecute and that's let the guy out.
Yeah.
Well, then, like, why should a police officer risk their life to arrest a violent felon
Well, even worse,
if
Elon,
nothing's going to happen.
even worse, they prosecute the police officer. They go after it and they prosecute the police officer and they take away his pension. They take away his
Yeah.
job. He loses his family. He loses his house.
Well, I thought it was very telling, like incredibly telling, that when there was that case where sort of a gang of thugs beat up police officers. I think it was in Times
Yep.
Square in New York, and and then nothing happened to those guys. They were let out, zero bail, and I think a bunch of them were given free tickets to California. Well, what is I mean, that is a gross indignity against the United States, and that's how, I mean, this is insane. Like, have we lost all pride? What that how can such a thing be allowed to occur?
I've never seen anything.
You know?
We see where they get shot. It's a very dangerous profession, but something they're very proud of, and they want to be able to do their job. But I've seen them get shot. I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen where these guys are standing in the middle of a big street, everybody watching them, and they're literally boxing, like punching, stand up fighting a police officer. There were two of them, and you
Yeah,
had about six
yeah,
of
yeah.
these guys, and they're punching the hell out of them. And in their own country, they would be dead if they did that. They'd be shot. They
Yes.
would be shot instantly. And they come from these countries, and it's taking them a while to realize that we don't do that in this country. But in their own
Yeah.
country, if they stood on a street and had a fight with a police officer, they would be shot. There's no political correctness, and it's such a sad,
Yeah. It's
it's
just
such a sad thing to see. And that's the reason you have crime, by the way,
yeah,
because we don't do anything about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, we just cannot have a situation where our police officers are beaten up on camera by a gang of illegal immigrants, and then nothing happens to the guys that beat up the cops. I mean, and they're let out. This is
Well, we're going to
unacceptable.
change it,
Um,
and we're going to get them out of the country. When I first got involved, they said you couldn't get them back to these countries. You couldn't take them back. In the case of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, some others, you couldn't get them back. And I said, really? Oh, you can't get them back? Because under Obama, he couldn't get them back. They'd fly them in, and they'd put planes on the runways in these countries so you couldn't land a plane. They'd bring them back. And the generals told me, sir, we can't bring them back. The countries won't accept MS-13 gang members. They won't accept them. And I said, really, how much do we pay these various countries in terms of economic aid, which is also somewhat ridiculous? And the answer was $750 million. I said, good. Tell them they're in default. They're delinquent. We're not paying them anymore because they won't accept
yeah,
it.
it's
And you know what happened? They all called me,
yeah,
every
yeah.
one of them. They said, we would be honored to take them back, sir. We would be honored. It was so easy. But it's one of those things. And we got it back. We took in so many, the MS-13 is probably
Yeah.
the
Is
worst
Trump's teeth
gangs
in? He
in the
does
world.
keep
They're the most vicious, violent. We took them out of here by
No,
the
he probably has
thousands
his
and got them out
retainer
of
in.
here. And their
He probably
countries
has
took
some
them back.
Invisalign in
And
or some
because I
retainer
said,
in
you're
or
not
something.
getting any
It's
more
nighttime.
economic aid.
He's probably at
And once I
home,
said
getting ready
that, they
for
were
bed.
nice. They wouldn't take
He's
them
got
back
his
for
retainer
Obama.
Yeah,
They
in.
yeah.
wouldn't take them back for anybody. And now we have a problem because we have this guy, and they don't take him back anymore with Biden because they don't respect him.
Yeah, yeah. It's just gotta be done. We just can't have uh whether they're citizens or not citizens. We can't have, because they won't prosecute citizens either. Not just illegals. So that if it's you can't have repeat violent offenders that are not that don't get
That's
incarcerated,
right.
because they will obviously, by definition, continue to hurt people. And I think where part of this comes from is that there's and I do sort of consider myself liberal in some ways. I mean, it's just that you want to have empathy for
Right.
people. Obviously, you want to have empathy for people. I totally agree with that. You want to have empathy, but you also have to have empathy for the victims of the criminals. And if you just have empathy for the criminals, it's actually shallow empathy. It's not real. You're not thinking. You're one layer deep empathy. You got to say, like, what if you don't incarcerate this person? Who are they going to uh, hurt? Who are they might kill someone. They might rape someone. If you don't incarcerate them, you have to have empathy for the victims. And there's a lack of empathy for the victims of the criminals, and too much empathy for the criminals. It doesn't make sense. That's why you want to have deep empathy for society as a whole, not shallow empathy for
That's right.
criminals.
And we have to give our police officers the dignity and the respect that they deserve. And we have to let them do their job. They can do a great job, but we have to let them do their job. And if we don't do that, it's going to all disappear. There's never been a society like this where you're allowed to do anything you want and nothing happens. And I'm talking about violent crime. And it's going to get more violent because these are really, really violent people. And we're going to get them out of our country, and we're going to get them back to because they were sent here by the presidents and by the various people that run those countries. And I know every one of those guys. And they're
Crime in
smart people.
Minnesota
And they're
under
streetwise
Waltz,
people. And they really think that
violent
the
homicides went
USA
up
is stupid. They
71%.
think we're run by stupid people, and they happen to be right. But when I was there, we had no
Well,
problem.
we
We
are
got them
being
out. We
ran
took
by
out
stupid
thousands of
people in a lot of
MS-13
places.
gang members. We brought them back. And now, again, it's the same old story. We don't do it. And they actually gave them a big increase in aid. They raised it up to billions of dollars,
Carjackings are at
and they get
548%.
nothing for it. So, I hope everybody's going to vote for Trump, and we're going to get this country straight.
Yeah.
And I didn't need this.
I,
I'm like you. I didn't need this. I had a very nice
yeah.
life. I didn't need to go
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
court systems and go through all the other stuff and run at the
Sure.
same time. I have to run. I have to go through fake trials with, in
Kamala
some
and Tim
cases,
Walz are called
corrupt
the
judges,
Joyful
totally corrupt
Warriors.
judges. I
That's
didn't
what
need it. I had a nice
I wrote
life.
down.
I have great locations. I have beautiful oceans that I have
Once this
places.
is over, we'll talk for a
This
little
was,
while, and then
but
we'll
I
just
felt it was
open up
important.
the
And
after party.
if I had to do it over again, you
We'll
probably
do
think
some
I'm crazy for
memes.
doing it, actually. But if I had to do it over again, I would have done it over again because this is so much more important than me or my life. We're going to save this country. This country is going down. And these people are bad people that we're running against, and they're liars. They make statements. They do things that are so bad. They say they're going to make a strong border. They say
He
they've
might
been
have his
great on the
fake teeth
border,
out.
and they've been the worst in history. They say they're
Yeah,
going to
it's
stop
horrible. Like
crime.
the
And
facts speak for themselves. The
it's so
facts
incredible.
speak for themselves. Like it's gotten to the point where people just don't even bother reporting crime in a lot of
That's
cities
right.
because they know nothing is going to happen.
Yeah.
That's what I hear anecdotally from
Well,
people
and the
all the time.
FBI doesn't keep track of it anymore
So
because it's
it's just
racist.
my values. I'm just saying to people out there, like the things I think are important for the future is like we've got to have safe cities, we've got to have secure borders, we've got to have sensible spending, and we've got to have deregulation, and
Right.
so we can have a prosperous future. And then we want to have some exciting, sort of moonshot projects that people can get fired up about, and that's the future I'm looking for. And I'm pro environment, but I'm not against. I'm not like I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry because they're keeping civilization going right now, and but I do think we want to move at a reasonable speed towards a sustainable energy economy. Those are my values, and I think and so I mean that's why I'm supporting you for president.
Well, I
So
appreciate it. We're going to give incentive to companies to come into our country, not to leave our country. We're going to be giving tremendous incentives. We want companies to build here, not to build in other locations. And we want to create jobs. And again, it's about the American dream. You don't hear about the American dream anymore, Elon. You're the American dream in the truest sense, but you don't hear about the American dream anymore. And you're going to hear about it. People, they need that incentive to go out
yeah,
and do it. And they're going to love their lives. I mean, they're going to look forward to getting up in the morning and going to a job that they love, not a job that they can't stand, or not any job at all where they have no money, where they
yeah,
literally have no money, and then they end up with violence and lots of other problems. No, we're
yeah.
going to do some great things. And I learned a lot in the first. We had a great economy and all of that. We rebuilt the military. We did so much, but I also learned the best people. I learned the good people, the smart people, the dumb people, the people that can do things. The people, you learn. When I first came
Some
in, I tell
dummies.
people I was in
There's some dummies.
Washington,
Their
D.C. only
IQ's not even
17
on the
times,
chart.
according to the fake news media. I was in 17 times. I never stayed over. And you don't know people. You rely on other people to give you names, and then you realize the people you relied on weren't so good. Now, we had great people, but we also had some where I wouldn't have, used them had I known. Now I
Yeah.
know everybody. And I think we're going to really turn things around fast. We have no choice. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country. And I really appreciate this. Has been, to me, it's been a lot of
This
fun
is a
being with
good
you.
page
You're
right here.
an amazing guy. You've done an incredible job
State of
and a
Department
great
Public
inspiration to
Safety.
people.
State of
A great
Minnesota Department of
inspiration,
Public
and
Safety.
I hope you keep going and just continue to do well. And we're going to have a big election coming up, and I think November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. I think that election will be the most important election, and I think it'll end up being maybe the most important day in the history of our country, because if
Yeah.
we don't win, I just feel so sorry for everybody.
No, I think we're at a fork in the road of destiny of civilization, and I think we need to take the right path,
Speaking
and
of
I think
Destiny, you better not let him
you're the
ask a
right path.
question.
So I think
Well,
that's what it comes down to.
thank you very much, Elon. It's a great honor, and we'll do it again sometime. And it's been really fun, and I hope you got a lot of viewers. I hear you got a lot, but I hope you
Sure.
got.
Yeah.
I know you got a lot of them. So I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Elon. Thank you very much. Bye.
What about the questions? All right. It's over. I thought they were going to do 10 questions at the end, but I guess they're not doing questions. So I've just been looking into Tim Walz. I'm writing down stuff. I want to do a debate. Trump or JD versus Kamala and Tim. They did the Minnesota Freedom Fund, which bails out and releases violent repeat offenders. They allowed them to vote upon being released, but meanwhile, they're doing red flag laws and more stringent background checks on private sale of weapons. Minnesota was home to 25% of all ISIS recruits in the U.S., largely due to their large Somali population. They renamed a whole part of a city as Little Mogadishu. A quote from Tim Walz: "Refugees strengthen our communities, and the inn is not full in Minnesota." Refugees strengthen our communities, and the inn is not full in Minnesota. They gave kids free lunches and free breakfasts, and they also put tampons and condoms in all the bathrooms. They promote the transgender stuff. Tim Walz supports abortion up to the last day of the final trimester. And they've had 8 botched abortion killings since he's been in charge over there. Ilhan Omar comes from there. We got her right here. We got Ilhan Omar. You know her. She's the one that married her brother so that she could get into America. Yeah, she was a congresswoman over there. And they changed the flag.
Minnesota will officially have a new flag unsealed tomorrow on Statehood Day, but it's not off to a popular start. Our Corin Hoggard found what may be the first to fly in this state and why its supporters think it can change Minnesotans' minds.
Dave Ruby is a bit of a flag
Because it looks like the damn Somalian flag.
collector, and in his pole position right now is the new look Minnesota flag.
Really proud of it.
Love having it. Minnesota
He
flag.
ordered it as soon as the State Emblems Redesign Commission chose it in December and was flying it by Christmas.
And look, his house is all painted with accents of Somalia because he doesn't want his house to get robbed.
One may have been the first, but as a sign of its growing popularity, flying are spreading. From here in Edina to Columbia Heights, from Maple Grove to Mount Everest. But the new design
We love you, Somalia.
is not without its detractors.
From the moment I put it up, I saw some neighbors put up the old flag where I've never seen them before.
In a couple recent polls, somewhere around half of Minnesotans said they wanted to keep the old flag. A few Republican legislators tried to stop the shift. And at Herald Flags in Rochester, sales of the new flag are rising, but the old flag sells faster.
I think the experience of other states and even other countries that have changed their imagery.
So here's the Somalian flag, and here's the new Minnesota flag. There's a video of Tim Walz, and he grabs the old flag and he says, "Wait, something's wrong here." And he moves it, and then he puts this flag in. So So yes, largest Somalian population outside of Somalia. I need to write that down. Then I think I got everything. They say he has friendly dad vibes. And he worked well with disabled kids. He was involved with disabled kids, and that's why he decided to run. Because he went down there with some kids, and they said, "No, you're not allowed here because you're Democrats." At some like Republican convention. That's like the heart wrencher story. Probably not that important to his policy and things like that. Largest Somalian population outside of Somalia. And we were just looking at his crime statistics. The crime has skyrocketed. That's because they're releasing criminals and taking a light on crime approach, defunding police, things like that. Outside of Somalia. Gay straight alliance students remember him as accepting and goofy. So he was getting involved with the gay kids at school. That's interesting. That's always a good thing to encourage young kids to be gay and run the Gay Straight Alliance Club. Fellow Gay Straight Alliance member Seth Elliott Meyer attended Mankato West from 2020 to 2024 and had Waltz for 11th grade history. Meyer, 38, said he initially expected to hate Waltz because he was a football coach and a hunter. I was a leftist punk rock, anti-everything kind of kid. In the year that I had him, what I learned is that he really cared about everyone and wanted everyone to be seen. All these heart-wrenching stories. 100% that guy is goofy. I know, he's wearing a damn camo hat. He shouldn't be allowed to be wearing no camo hats. Waltz proudly turned Minnesota into a transgender haven and a danger zone for kids. As the rest of the world pumps the brakes on gender transition services for kids, the UK and Sweden restricting puberty blockers, Minnesota is proudly hanging out a shingle as a haven for the medicalization of confused young people. Last April, Tim Walz turned Democratic VP hopeful, signed the so-called trans refugee bill, turning the Midwestern state into a legal sanctuary for children seeking gender-affirming care. Trans refuge bill. Refuge or refugee? It says refuge. Trans refuge bill. Let me click on that and save that also. Trans refuge state. So you can take your kids to Minnesota and get them. They can get their wiener chopped off there. Wow. Controversial bill was sponsored by trans Minnesota State Rep Lee Finke. We've got stuff on Lee. This is the Somalian population. Where's Lee? Where's Lee Finke? I'll show you this guy. So this is Minnesota State Representative, House of Representatives. I thought she was a mayor of Minneapolis for a term. She's been Minnesota House of Representatives since 2003. Democratic Farmer Labor Party. So this is Lee Finke. This is one of his go-tos. Yeah. Lee. Where's my soundboard? My soundboard's not up right now, but Lee, if you haven't figured it out yet, is a man, baby. That's a man, baby. Lee is most obviously a man. Oh, Liam. Trans refuge bill. Lee Finke, state representative. This sick pervert. Oh, So if you're not getting taken over by Somalia and crime, which we were just looking at the crime stats. Did I close it? This right here. Increase in homicide, 71%. Increase in homes burglarized. This is between 2019 and 2020 when he got in. Homes burglarized, 1,054. 26% increase in robberies, 53% in arson. Minneapolis, 61 homicides in 2022, up from 46 in 2019. Carjackings, 381 in 2022, up from 101 in 2019. St. Paul, much of the same, 84% increase in crime and carjackings. So crimes are skyrocketing. Lee Finke's going to cut your kid's wiener off. And they got condoms and tampons in the girls' and boys' bathroom. Such a handsome lady. So this is Minnesota. This is the guy. And also, we got a little stolen valor. Where's my... Oh, I had it pulled up on one of these. Where's my stolen valor clip? So J.D. Vance accused him of stolen valor, but it's actually in this... did I close it? It's in this Newsweek article. It mentions it. Less than half of Minnesota students are able to read proficiently. So I guess your free lunches and all that money you spent on education, they spent like $200 million extra on education, but less people are able to read. Isn't that interesting? Less than half of Minnesotan students are able to read proficiently. Less than half the student. This ties in with the education stuff. So I got education, I got crime statistics, I got his social standing. This guy's a joke. Bro, please somebody debate me on Kamala and Tim versus JD and Trump. So less than half of the students can read. How are they going to be expected to learn to read if they can't even fit inside the building? Students can read. And we might have some stats to look at on that. Let's see where they're sourcing here. This is Cerisi Walburn Foundation. Messaging campaign highlights Minnesota schools' poor literacy outcomes for white students too. So 68% of the black people can't read, and half the white kids can't read. Wow. Good job, Tim. But they're spending a whole lot on schooling, and they're giving your kids free lunch and free breakfast. Educate them longer and teach them less. And he also is a dang stolen valor guy. Walz is also facing allegations that his military record is not as stellar as his media profile suggests. In 2018, two retired command sergeant majors for the Minnesota National Guard, Thomas Behrens and Paul Hare, claimed that in early 2005, Walz was notified to prepare for a deployment with his battalion to Iraq. On May 16th of that year, according to the Behrens and Hare, Walz quit, leaving his battalion hanging as brave Minnesotans from across the state prepared to go to war for their country. Walz's battalion ended up serving in Iraq for 22 months, and he ditched them. So this is the J.D. Vance making that claim.
This is a guy who tries to claim that he stands for working people, and yet he wants to pursue energy policies that are going to ship everybody's job to China. In some ways, what Tim Walz represents is doubling down on failed 30 years of leadership in this country where we don't make enough of our own stuff. We don't use enough of our own workers to make enough of our own stuff. We rely on everybody else for energy instead of American citizens, and then we throw up in the southern border to make our communities less livable and less safe. He is the double down choice for failed leadership, and again, yes. Kamala Harris selected him. I don't know why, but I think it's because she's fundamentally a radical herself, and she wanted a partner in crime.
Yeah. Facts. I thought that was the clip where he accused him of stolen valor.
Better line of...
But I guess it's not. So, and then we covered he changed the Minnesotan flag to a Somalian flag. refuge bill. If you promise trans refuge, then we need to increase the number of people who are offering gender affirming care because we already had a shortage, and now more people are coming. Finke said. This is Lee Finke. If you are a provider and you live in Missouri and all your clients can no longer access care, well, if they are leaving, you might also be interested in coming with your clients. So not only are they telling the transgender kids to run away to Minnesota where the crime is high and you're probably going to get raped by a Somalian, but they're also telling the doctors who aren't allowed to render their services of cutting children's genitals off, they're telling them to move to Minnesota as well. Interesting. So J.D. Vance called him out for being stolen valor. This has been widely discredited now on the leftist media sites. They're saying it's not true. We're running out of time, so I'm not going to read super deep into that. I will probably later. I'll read this NPR article. But most of the leftist media is coming out saying this is fake news. He didn't steal valor. But we had stories before this story came out that he did ditch his squadron and let them go to Iraq, and he just ditched it. Now, the same claims will be brought up against Trump, so that's something that I wouldn't want to dwell on too long, because if you were debating somebody, they would just say, well, Trump also was a draft dodger. And so was Muhammad Ali. So that's not the strongest argument. But there are multiple stories of it. They're saying he retired before UNIT had deployment news. So they're saying that it's fake news that it's stolen valor, that he had already retired. Minnesota has 86,610 Somalian people. Largest Somali American population in the United States. 40%, the total number of people in the U.S. who report Somalian ancestry live in Minnesota. And Ilhan Omar, last but not least. But I got a lot of good stuff on Tim Walz, and we'll look into Kamala, and we're going to need all the dirt on Trump. I know all the dirt on Trump. I know all the stuff about Trump, but we need to look into J.D. Wallace, find all the dirt on him, so we can be prepared for a legit debate if we can find somebody who wants to take it. Trump and JD versus Kamala and Tim Walz. Who's better for America? That's the debate. The challenge is out. If anybody wants to take it, hit me up. Get at your boy. Let's see. Let's see what we got in rapid fire. We're just going to kind of burn through this. So basically, instead of the last segment, we just did the last segment kind of earlier and listened to the Elon and Trump thing. Let's watch some funny reels. Bum, bum. It's funny. It's knockouts turned into good effect. His head went around. Whoa! Whoa! Boom!
Jab out there and then. Oh!
Carolina's eyes closed. She's in the kitchen, cooking some, and now he's in the kitchen cleaning the stove. Okay, enough of that. That one goes on for a while. This is funny though. This is a court. Black people in court.
He hit me hard, Judge. I had to go to the hospital. He hit me hard. You see how he assaulted me with that chicken?
I'm not gonna let y'all go no further with this chicken junk.
I never seen him turn down chicken.
I told y'all I'm done with this chicken. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to let you embarrass yourselves, your family, your community, nor me.
He talking about eat bone, Judge. I do eat the bone though, but I'm talking about my TV.
So what was different about that day?
I eat the guasa.
The bone was
I
fine.
eat the bone, the guasa, all that. But I ain't talking about no chicken. I'm talking about my $400. Stop talking about chicken. The judge say we talking about the $400. I need my $400.
This man, his 400. I don't care what you say.
I need my $400. I'm trying to watch TV.
You can think what you want.
I'm trying to watch TV.
You want. I'm giving this man his 400. What else you want?
In 2000, he assaulted me with
2000 on top of that.
Assassination.
Assassination.
Assault.
Yes.
Do you have a doctor?
Assassination. Bro, with a chicken. He assassination with a chicken.
Yes, I have everything.
You went to this doctor for real?
Yes.
What page is that on? I don't even want to go and revisit that bird, but what did you tell? Did you actually tell the doctors that happened?
Yes, I did.
Lord.
You're right. I'm saying because when he hit me with the chicken, I had to go to the hospital because I don't got no neck. I only got head and shoulder. So I had to go check on my neck too.
It's fine.
I ain't got no neck. I got head and shoulder.
He hit me hard, Judge. I had to go to the hospital. He hit me hard. You see how he assaulted me with that chicken?
I'm not.
Assassination.
I want to dance. After that, I want to get in them pants. And then
Look at the guy in the back watching him dance. Ooh, boy.
Be my little chicken.
Ooh,
and he's
boy.
sagging in prison. Oh, he ready to crash out. I'm going to hit it till he pass out. Look at big fella getting out of Dodge. He can't believe, bro, going on like that. He in jail dancing like he and you got served. And dog in the background, ready to hit it for a little sight. That look diabolical. Ain't no nigga that horny.
That look diabolical.
Start giving out tail. That man ain't doing too well. That's from cellmate to soulmate. Okay, big fella want to dance. After that, I want.
He's like, I'm taking that. I'm taking that. All right. JD Vance tries to blame Magic the Gathering as the reason girls thought he was creepy as a teen. So JD Vance is a Magic the Gathering player. Let's go. You know, the big problem with transitioning from being a 13-year-old who likes Magic the Gathering to being a 15-year-old who likes Magic the Gathering is that 15-year-old girls do not like Magic the Gathering. JD Vance told Semaphore, so I dropped it like a bad habit. JD, no! You don't drop card games for the girl? What the heck? You just go find all the weird freak girls at the card game conventions. Dang, JD, what are you thinking? What else? What else we got in rapid fire? Elon Musk, speaking of Elon, his Neuralink has been put in its second human. This is from PCMag.com. Elon Musk's implant company Neuralink has surgically implanted its M1 brain chip into its second patient, according to the executive. I don't want to jinx it, but it seems to have gone completely. You wouldn't want to jinx it. You just put a chip in somebody's brain, bruh. Musk said during a very long episode of Lex Fridman podcast, there's a lot of signal, a lot of electrodes. It's working very well. So Elon chipping people up over here. Final Olympic medal count. Where did the U.S. finish from Forbes? Paris 2024 Olympics concluded on August 11th with the closing ceremony, blah, blah, blah. There were 14 gold medal matches on Sunday. The U.S. and China entered the day neck and neck for total gold medals, which is what the International Olympic Committee uses to determine its medal table ranking, though the U.S. is the only nation to finish with more than 100 medals in Paris. Entering the final event, the U.S. could earn a gold medal. The women's basketball gold medal game, China had 40 gold medals, the United States 39. The U.S. could have earned the most gold medals outright in the women's volleyball gold medal match against Italy, but Italy dominated 25-18, 25-20, 25-17. Thanks to Gender Volanti's gold medal in the women's cycling omnium, however, the U.S. still had the chance to tie China. The two nations also have the same number of silver medals. Bronze medals is considered. Nations have the same medal of gold, silver, and bronze. Therefore, total members. The fourth tiebreaker is an alphabetical ranking based on IOC code. So who won? The U.S. has led, blah, 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 blah. Last four consecutive Olympics. IOC, gymnast, bronze medal, which decreased the United States total to 125. Paris going to appeal the decision dating back to the summer. So who won? The article doesn't even tell me who won. Anyway, came down to U.S. and China. What the heck? Okay, last two little quick stories we're going to do. You guys want memes? Hold on. Let's see if we can see if we can find the memes. See if we just get them straight from Facebook. Let me see. What can I do? All right. Where's my soundboard? The Brazilian plane crash and Ukrainian troops in Kursk. And Russia is threatening nukes again. On Friday, Russia said it is bringing more troops and weapons into Kursk, where Ukrainian forces have launched a rare ground assault in Russian territory. Grossi, the Director General of International Atomic Energy, has warned of a nuclear accident if fighting around the Kursk nuclear power plant continues. And there was a warning. Here it is. The IAEA emergency warning. Emergency warning in Ukraine. International Atomic Energy Agency. They're saying you can't be fighting around the nuclear reactor, guys. Lots of Ukrainian troops in Kursk. Russia is not happy. There's nuclear reactors there. Ukrainian troops now up to 30 kilometers inside Russia, Moscow says. So Ukraine is moving in. They're moving into Kursk. Russia's not happy. Ukrainian troops have advanced up to 30 kilometers inside Russia in what has become the deepest and most significant incursion since Moscow began its full-scale invasion in Ukraine in February of 2022. Russia's defense ministry said its forces had engaged Ukrainian troops near the villages of Tolopino and Objaskasky-Kabashkev. In the offensive in the Kursk region entered the six-day. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakhanova accused Kiev of intimidating the peaceful population of Russia. President Volodymyr Zelensky, who directly acknowledged the attack for the first time in the address last night, said 2,000 cross-border attacks have been launched by Russia from Kursk this summer. So there may be a nuclear reactor explosion in Russia. Thanks a lot, Ukraine. Let's do some memes, and then we'll wrap up with the Brazilian plane crash. Let me just get my soundboard open. I'm going to drink myself in oblivion tonight. Y'all think the Lord, it ain't an open show. It'll be an open panel after this. The music is starting again. What are you doing to me, voice mod? What is that? It's coming from somewhere. How do I stop sounds? I don't know what that is. Why is that playing? All right, nothing's going right tonight, guys. Beta. Maybe we listen to the memes with some music. Let's just do it. Let's get to some memes. Hey, that one family member that refused the vaccine.
It's a man, baby.
No, that's a woman, but that's her. What else? Rare image of Donald Trump, Willie Brown, and Kamala Harris. 1997. Where's Kamala? Where's Kamala?
Beta.
Next. Oh, I went the wrong way. Sometimes I tuck my wiener in to see what it's like to be Tim Walz. What the? No. Oh my God, it's Michelle and Kamala. Big old Mike and little old Michelle. What the? Next. Kamala, pay more, live worse. Oh. Next. Africa CDC says likely to declare health emergency next week over Mpox outbreaks. Hey, I've seen this before.
Beta.
Next. Me every morning checking the trending topics to see if I need to dress for World War III, Civil War II, a presidential coup, or economic collapse.
Merry Christmas, Happy Schwanza, Happy Hanukkah.
Next. Good morning today would be perfect day to end the Fed and abolish Department of Education. Don't you think? Sure. Referee warns Olympic women's boxing finalists not to punch each other in the testicles.
Beta. It's a man, baby.
Damn, next. Female Algerian boxers in the Olympics. What the?
It's a man, baby.
Oh, no. Next. I've already seen this one. We've done that one before. What you thought joining the resistance would look like, what it actually looks like. Next. Tambo, Boys First Blood. What the? This is Tim Walz. Tambo, Boys First Blood. Next. Just remember, for every boomer that is annoyed by millennials, there's a generation in between you that is annoyed by both of you. Facts. Tired of election map? The yellow states in the map below are the states where it is legal to own a raccoon. Next. Remember when President Trump almost had his head blown off 25 days ago, and then we learned basically nothing about the shooter, and then the Secret Service and the FBI lied about it, and then the media stopped talking about it, and then big tech suppressed its results in the search? Weird. Thanks, Michael Knowles. Next. Sweetie, we have to trust the government. Laugh my ass off, libtard. Nah. Next. Watch out for little Jenny. Tim Walz signed a bill that lets the state take away your kids if you do not agree with sterilizing them and chopping off their body parts in the name of gender-affirming care. So if your 14-year-old is sad but thinks it's gender confusion and you object to castrating him, the state takes custody. Next. Alright, this music's annoying. Enough memes. My phone, we're having technical difficulties tonight. And the voice mod music is killing me. Now I have to control. I don't know why it's doing that. I have to cut it off in the task manager. Where is it? It doesn't even say it's open. Okay. Enough of that. All right. Last but not least, let's talk about this Brazilian plane crash. 61 people died. At least 61 dead after Brazilian plane crashes in Brazil. I don't know if it's a Brazilian plane, but it crashed in Brazil. So, at least 61 people were killed after a passenger plane crashed outside Sao Paulo on Friday afternoon, according to Brazilian officials. Authorities have located the black box flight recorder at the crash site. An official said, remember when that plane crashed in Pennsylvania and there was like no indication of it? Oh, we don't have the picture. Here's the picture. It's a video. Look at the shape. You can see the whole shape of the plane on this house right here. There's going to be an ad. Oh, there's no ad.
The plane plummeted to its demise in a matter of moments. But for those who witnessed the tragic crash outside Sao Paulo, the images will last forever. I don't know how long.
That's definitely a plane crash.
Again. I'm still in shock, says Gertrude Pereira.
Gertrude Pereira.
Replays from her own front yard. Brazil has declared 3 days of national mourning as rescue workers tirelessly comb through the wreckage to recover the bodies.
I can say that we are working here now since yesterday. We have 100 police officers working here.
62 people have died on
62. So why is this other article just telling me girl 3 and boy 4 confirmed dead in Brazilian plane crash? 62 people are dead.
2283, but only a handful of bodies have been identified.
That's
Among
probably
the victims,
a burning body.
A mother of 3, a pharmacist traveling to visit her family, teachers at a local university, and the crew of the plane. Brazilian authorities saying they recovered 2 black boxes that could help clarify what really happened.
What's on his roof? Is that cooling or is that like solar panels? What is that?
The accident, still a mystery. But in such a tragedy, there is also relief for those who felt it could have turned out much worse.
Acho que nós nascemos de novo, né?
The pilot was a real hero. He managed to crash in an open field without causing damage on the ground.
Well, he barely missed a house, but okay, good.
Had he crashed 2 seconds before...
Did you see the swimming pool? I would have aimed for the swimming pool. I would have jumped out of the plane and aimed for the swimming pool.
We would be dead. A community and a nation looking at the sky, still waiting for an answer.
Why has there been 69 people?
Vinhedo, Brazil.
All right.
What was life like? What was your everyday life?
They're not going to let me read this. What caused it from New York Times. Dramatic social media videos showed the plane crashing. CNN has confirmed through geolocation the plane crashed in the residential area of Veneno, Brazil. Yeah. All right, guys. It's 9:30, and I haven't even walked Echo before the show started. It was a rough show because we got interrupted with the Elon and Trump thing, but we just watched that. I did take a lot of notes on Tim Walz. In the after party, you know, we can look into Kamala more and maybe JD and just take notes and talk about whatever. Mr. Mad's rolling. He doesn't want to be here when the... Are you rolling as in laughing or you're rolling out? Echo's still alive. He's going to live forever. Looked like one propeller failed because it spiraled all crazy. Yeah, but shouldn't they be able to... I don't know. I mean, I guess he missed the house, so that's cool. Rocking and rolling and whatnot. Okay, well, we're going to start the after party up here in like 30 minutes, so 10 o'clock. Let me make my little... I can't even do my thumbnail. I have to send the thumbnail to the Discord, and then I have to copy it from the Discord. Hold on one second. Load a photo. And if you noticed, I used the same thumbnail. I've never recycled a thumbnail until this show because... What's it called? Because I can't... My phone... It charges, but it's not... I don't have data. So I can't transfer stuff to... to my computer from my phone. But yeah, we're about to end this show. TDC after party. And hit the like button, you guys. We'll be back in just a little while. About 30 minutes for the nighttime show, the panel, all that stuff. I'm going to be looking up anything I can on Kamala. Try to set up a debate. If you guys know any liberals that really support Kamala and Tim Walz, technical difficulties. It's becoming too powerful and China is trying to stop him. Yeah. Text. Politics, movies. Movies? Why can't I spell? Entertainment and more. Politics, entertainment, and more. Put the little beer pitcher in here. Little beer mug. Oh yeah, and I got to put my cards in envelopes. I got cards I got to sell. Download. Save, download. I got to post this in the Discord. And then I'll have the next thumbnail. But I'm going to go, guys. And I'll be back, like I said, 30 minutes. And we will have the after party show going. We'll have the Discord open and all that good stuff. So thanks for hanging out. It's been real. It's been fun. It hasn't been real fun. We've had technical difficulties. We had a random surprise Elon and Trump interview to listen to. So, but I did get a lot of good stuff about Tim Walz written down. So I'm prepared. But I'll be right back, guys. Watch for the new thumbnail coming up in a minute. And I will see you there. God bless. Peace.